No, y'all, that's not my real voice. Cigar Hound Dog, DJ from Pick Jimmy, Master Your Ash, John from Cigar Alchemist, EKB from The Vintage Cigar.
What you gonna do for it? How you gonna move for it? What you gonna be? And do you believe you can do anything?
Thanks for tuning into the big broadcast, the bad broadcast. And now, the New Wave presents the infamous Smoke Show.
And we're live with our guest, Steve Saka.
Yeah.
Steve,
You got to
thanks
go
for coming
on,
on, sir.
The chat is popping already.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That's a little tough to swallow, ain't it? Let's have a comment about this. First off, you obviously love it when people love your product, right? You're making product, your company. I've never pretended that I'm in a charitable business. I'm pretty transparent with my price models, so everybody knows where things are and why they're there. I don't make any excuses for them. You thrive on getting good word of mouth, right? Well, good word of mouth is probably the most valuable advertising, and I've been the benefactor of a lot of it, and I realize that, and you hope that it's earned media, right? You're hoping they really like it, but there is a point where people, and I know when he wrote that, it was a joke. He's just, smirking, right, while he's typing. I know that, but you get the people that write these kind of like for life kind of things and like can do no wrong and everything is perfect. I mean, it actually kind of hurts the company. You know what I mean? Because it doesn't feel real anymore. It feels like it's all based on hype, and you really don't want that to be the perception, because that actually gets people alienated against you, right? That would, just because I just don't want to be part of that. If everybody's loving on Saka and I'm looking at Saka's whatever this and Saka that, you go like, fuck that. I don't even care. It might be the greatest stuff in the world, but I'm just going to just not like it because I want to be a bit contrarian, right? We all are that way. We all, and look, and cigar smokers, they're contrarian by nature just to begin with, right? When you think about the type of men that are cigar smokers, the most least confident amongst us is a boss in most rooms. I mean, I have to remind myself, I went to trying to expand my universe. So I went to this kind of like separate niche geek thing. And look, they're all good guys. But man, is it boring as fuck. You know what I mean? And so I know I got off on a tangent here, but
No, this is what we want.
It's really so, as much as you think you'd want to roll like a pig in shit and all these endless compliments, you also don't want them to ultimately feel like they're disingenuous and that people are just drinking the Kool-Aid. Because if people get the perception that they're just drinking the Kool-Aid, then you see it all the time. There's brands that have people that are just diehard for that brand, and that brand's heyday was, I'm sorry, it's in the back mirror. There was a point where they were making a great product. It deserved all the love it was getting behind that company, right? And you don't actually want those type of consumers in the long run.
So let me ask you this. So do you feel like that point is coming? Because there's always a point where Michael Jordan goes from Michael Jordan on the Chicago Bulls to the Wizards. He's still Jordan.
I don't think this is a very kind going to get me into comparing myself to Michael Jordan. We're going to have to fucking pick another. We're going to go down another path here, dude. But
I'm saying this in the sense that, like, as someone that is very much so upfront about the cigars that I don't like and the cigars that I absolutely love, and the people who are producing cigars right now, just with genuine adoration, you're doing great. Yeah. And I love that fact that you're humble about it. But you can't always stay
humble,
on
and I'm arrogant about it. I'm both. I'm very confident. I think that we make some of the best product that's in the marketplace today. I think as a brand, we have a very wide span portfolio that have something for the real mild guys like a Wagashi, up to the guys that want to smoke like a Tricky Traka 448 or something like that. There's a wide span, and I feel like the quality level in each of the genres warrants it to be one of the best cigars in the marketplace within its group, right? But of course, there's another 20 cigars equal probably, and then it just comes down to a question of, you know, what do I like better flavor-wise, taste-wise, what works better for my budget, right? But I mean, the goal is to try to make something that in the different buckets has the potential of being someone that smokes that style cigar, one of their favorites, that it gets added to their rotation. But also understanding that the guy that's going to probably add red meat lovers to his rotation is probably not adding Sober Mesa Brulee to the same rotation, right? Now, yeah, you get some consumers that are like me. I smoke the spectrum, which is why there's a lot, but most don't. Most people smoke 1 to 2 formats at most, kind of whatever their smaller format, which is normally a Robusto, and their bigger format being a Toro, okay? And they have a universe that spans 3-4 brands and whatever they might pick up occasionally, and they're very locked in. It's as good as you can do perception-wise. You never come close to the kind of numbers that your competitors are selling on Romeo and Julietas and H. Upmans and Monte Cristos and Maca Noodles, and I didn't mean to say it that way. But I mean,
but they're going all on their name too, just like you were saying before. A lot of them are still
and that's something that they built up 40, 50 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Some of it was carryover from obviously the Cuban brands transitioning. So that's, you know, we can go into the whole stolen valor thing. It's a very complex issue, right? But I mean, I think, you know, what's funny about that whole thing is the thing that they thought was so important really wasn't. I mean, you know where things really started to change in our marketplace, cigar-wise, not business-wise. Business is just business. A very big transition in our business, in our industry, started 1999, I think it was, when Hoy de Nicaragua released the Hoy de Nicaragua Antaño. Very rough cigar. It was harsh to smoke. It was over strong, and it was kind of like the first time someone had like really made a big deal out of being all Nicaraguan, right? Nicaraguan factory, Nicaraguan cigar. That kind of set off a different trend when it came to how cigars from Nicaragua were branded, where the Dominicans were almost always trying to live on the coattails of the Cuban trademarks, many of which they rightfully owned, and I understand why they would want to continue them on, right? But they were living on those marks and that concept of they're not Cuban cigars, but we're going to make you a cigar that's a good enough alternative. And that was kind of their pitch for a long time. It got a little bit better as we got into the tail end of the 80s, where they started talking about Dominican cigars as though Dominican cigars anybody cared about. But what really transitioned was when Nicaragua started not doing we make like Cuban cigars. We're not trying to make cigars that taste like Cuban cigars. We can't make cigars that taste like Cuban cigars. But guess what? They can't make cigars that taste like we make either, right? They don't have our materials to work with. And I think Nicaragua is the first New World country to really embrace this concept of not trying to compete directly with Cubans on a one-to-one, but to actually take ownership and position themselves as a global market maker. You know what I mean? And look, they're winning the battle in the long run because, I mean, Habanos SA is going to be down to 38 million units coming into the next year. So the problem is the Nicaraguans are taking over because there's such a void in the marketplace. And the thing that's happened now, because of the void in the marketplace and the price increases, you now have every retailer in the world now globally motherfucking your Habanos brand because they can't get it to sell, right? But guess what?
Right.
motherfucking the brand that they basically said was the only brand in the world for literally 4 decades. These same retailers are now motherfucking it because they can't make any money on it anymore. And now they are positioning and sharing all of these Nicaraguan cigars. And because Nicaragua, well, all free New World cigars, but because Nicaraguan cigars have such a strong identity, they almost kind of sell a little bit on that. Whereas if you're a Dominican cigar, if you're not a Fuente, you're not a maybe, I don't know.
Davidoff.
Yeah, Davidoff, thank you. Lido, those guys. Nobody even knows who the fuck you are, right?
Yeah.
But when you're getting Nicaraguan cigars mean something. Where Dominican cigars don't. Dominican cigars is very loosey, whatever. When you say Nicaraguan, it has an identity. And that identity is something that whether they did it intentionally because they're marketing masters, which I can tell you they're not, working with my friends all the time, that they stumbled into this just basic core concept of, we're us. We do this, and that's a very significant sea change. And I think you can see a future where the way Cuban cigars were held in incredibly high esteem 20 years ago, if Cuba doesn't get its shit together, I think they're going to lose that. And I can see Nicaragua being talked about that way 2 generations from now. But that's assuming Nicaragua doesn't fuck it up too, because it's Civil War Tuesday in some of these countries. So we'll see.
Yeah. Then we're going to be stuck with Honduran tobacco.
Is there another country that you feel like could carve out that identity the way Nicaragua has? That's maybe on the up and up, whether it's Honduras or Costa Rica and Peruvian.
No, I don't think so at all.
Yeah,
I don't think any of those have a real identity. I mean, look, us as cigar geeks know that the cigars made in the Bahamas were from Grey Cliff, right? And we know that the Costa Rican ones have to be something from just a couple brands. So, yeah, but the average cigar consumer, the person that actually buys, 90% of the product in the marketplace, they don't think about it at all. I think Nicaraguan has a statement to it, and I don't think any of the other countries do. Now, individual brands within the countries do, but I don't think as a country, no.
that makes sense.
I didn't even know. What did you guys want to talk about tonight? I just kind of took over.
Well, Texas tourist got us in trouble within 5 seconds of the show starting. So good job, Texas.
Yeah, he apologized.
I think this is a good question to start out with. What are y'all smoking tonight? In honor of our guest, Steve Saka, I am starting out with, how do I go live? Me? There it is. Matt, you can go first.
Oh, in honor of Steve Saka. What up, Iran, Mexico?
Touched. All right, I can already see what a shit show this is going to be.
How do I do this? I'm on a different platform. Hold on.
DJ, what you doing, bro?
Yeah. I'm on edge. Here you go. Your turn.
Oh, yeah.
Got another one.
The only good part about this gag is I hope they have to suffer through the whole damn thing.
Oh, this is wrong.
This is like it took us like 10 minutes to get to this point. I'm like,
I know, right?
Can we at least get the joke over with?
Oh, I'm so happy that we get to throw these out, boys.
It's terrible. Yeah,
look, it's all a great ash.
I gotta say,
it's not.
I thought I was gonna hate this thing.
Yeah,
it's not terrible.
It's not. I thought I was gonna hate this thing, dude. This is not bad, man. I can't
it's not bad, but I really want to smoke a DuMbarton cigar, man.
Yeah, mine ash and burnt. Yeah, it's surprisingly good. I lit it up and I'm like, okay, this is not horrible that we're off on a tangent right now.
It's completely inoffensive.
I want to go that far. I want to go that far.
It's inoffensive because it lacks flavor.
I'm getting notes of chlorine right now, so we're gonna put this one up.
Chlorine?
Yeah.
Okay, so what are we all actually smoking tonight? Since I know how to actually click the right button now. All right, we got Solo Layout.
Oh,
Relay Blue.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm gonna start out with this,
Beautiful.
and then I
Nice.
got the Papa Saka coming up after. So
There you
Very
Nice.
cool. What's Keelan got?
Keelan?
That a Bewitched?
Which one's that?
Oh, Baba Maria.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Baba
It's my
Maria.
first time. My first time with this
Alright.
bad boy. I'm excited.
Got Michael.
nice.
Paladin and then a Totos.
Oh,
Keelan?
little-
You're gonna be feeling it.
Oh yeah, he's going full
Oh,
force.
Matt.
Wait until I break out the whiskey.
Ah,
Frog juice.
okay.
Yeah, baby.
And I am gonna start out with this little small cigar right here. This little,
Oh, yeah, a little
guy.
teeny tiny.
It's a little one.
Mm-hmm. I really enjoy that.
I hope it didn't split like a fucking. Yeah.
What's Steve smoking?
Oh, I'm
Steve had
smoking Saka Con.
Yes,
Coming out
sir.
of Ron, Mexico.
All right.
Beautiful.
Yeah, we should have sent you one.
All right. So what is the thing? What is the name? What is the reason behind frog juice? How did you come up with the cigar? How did you come up with the name of the cigar?
So,
What's up with the new release and all
yeah,
of that? Man? Give us the whole thing.
the thing with Frog Juice was, so these just in general, I try to pick people to do some of these exclusives with, for different reasons. Like I do some exclusives
Okay.
with people that I know are going to reach a larger audience, and is ultimately better for my brand. But I also do it with some small brick and mortar shops to let to kind of like share the wealth with them. Because look, for them, it's look, they sell 300 boxes in 24 hours. If we sell 300 boxes in 24 hours, I'm going to business. Okay, so you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So it's a big deal to that retailer, but it's not a big commercial deal to the company.
Okay.
So all of these things are done to serve two purposes. One is to obviously get the marketing benefit out of it, because you now have other people that talk to people helping to espouse the benefits of your brand. So that for me is actually the most important part, because there isn't really any money in the cigars because there's so few of them. And the other thing is kind of wanting to have something fun and unique and different for your hardcore guys or gals that smoke your brand all the time, right? And
Yeah.
a little cherry on top, because look, we're in a marketplace where people are generating new shit like just craziness, right? Hundreds of brands every year or different thises and that's. And when you're the curious George type, you're going to buy something new, because you're just going to buy something new because you want something new. So if I present some opportunities along the way for there to be something new and unique, then it keeps them happy too. So for me, it's kind of a two-pronged thing, satisfying customer demand, and also getting the marketing value out of it, because in the end, 300 boxes of something, 500 boxes of something, yeah, it's nice, but no, it's not going to keep the lights on. I mean, if you figure it out, so last year we did 1.8 million cigars. So 1.8 million. When you think about, well, what is a U-boat worth? U-boat was like 400 boxes of 10 cigars. That's 4,000 cigars out of 1.8 million. You know what I mean?
Literally a fraction. Yeah, literally a fraction.
So nothing, but who it does mean something to is the people that, hey, I smoke your Mi Querida all the time. I smoke Brulee. I smoke this. I really like your brand, and it provides something there to give them a chance. But it's also a little bit scary too, because I'm in a business where, the ceiling is so stupid right now. It's not even hard. It's not even possible to explain. I have had every one of these releases do well. I've had every single one of them sell out relatively quickly. And as soon as you, for example, Ronnie, I literally produced 4 times more Don Derma for him in this last 6-month window that he has released. Well, I actually did it last year for him to release it, than he's ever had before. but then it looks like a failure when DuMbarton doesn't sell out within 24, 48 hours. Right?
It usually does.
That's a negative marketing thing, where the reality is, it sold out already 3 times more than it sold out the year before, but it isn't sold out yet because we decided to make more. So that's the thing that I have to worry about, because for me, it's the marketing. And the thing is, I mean, very few of these kind of drops sell out. The fact that we've been able to just, I think the reason why is because you're trying to put some different unique cigars into the box, so that, because that's the thing, you're giving them to the people that smoke the most of your product, but they're the ones most likely to buy them. So you can't really just give them a Mickey Rita that's a half an inch longer and a couple ring gauge skinnier.
That's not fun.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's like you're just abusing your most loyal, best customer. So you put a lot of effort into these limiteds, but you don't get very much of the sales. So the whole thing is about, how does it make everybody feel?
Yeah,
does
it's
it
kind of
consumer happy? Does it satisfy?
Pushing the energy along with it? It's more about the energy and the wave in that case.
Right. So, but that also means that every time you release one, you also run the risk of, what if it's a fucking dud?
Sure.
I mean, seriously, that's some fucking risk, man. Every single time you stick your dick in the window, there's a chance that it's going to get slammed.
So did any one of your cigars yet give you that stress that this might be the one that doesn't go over well?
Yeah, the one is obvious. It's Stillwell. All right, Stillwell's weird. Stillwell's the one.
Cigar, though, man.
It's good weird.
Stillwell's still the one that here we are 3 years in, and only by this point I kind of have an idea as to how a brand is doing and whether it's got a chance to be a winner. I still have no fucking clue on Stillwell. Stillwell's a mess. Stillwell is, it barely sells to then sell massively to, only the aromatic sells, and nobody's buying the Bayou. But the next time I turn around, 300 boxes of Bayou are no longer in the warehouse. I'm like, where'd those go? And it's just, it's strange, man. It is a strange brand. It smokes strange. It's expensive, right? I mean, come on, it's not a cheap ride. It's what, $15.95 a list. I mean, it's real. So it's an expensive, weird ride. That's the one that gives me the most apprehension, because I don't know that I can identify a consumer for it. I don't know what market niche I'm filling, because I don't think it exists. Not like, I know this is going to be for the mild guy. I know this is going to be for the budget guy. I know this has got a shot with the golfers. And I know this one's going to, you know what I mean? You get a general sense as to what a thing is going to do and who's going to potentially be a customer for it. I can't answer that question about Stillwell. I still don't know. We're 3 years into this thing. I have no clue.
How do you make anything when you have that much going on in your head thinking about these cigars? It has to be a point where you just got to make something that you just like it and like, fuck it. Let me just put.
Well, that's what I always do. I only make stuff I like. So that makes it easier. I don't have to do that, but it doesn't mean I don't doubt it. You doubt everything. Mm-hmm. Every time you release anything, anytime, you're like, oh, great, here's a review, I've been blessed. I've been lucky. You know what I mean? No doubt about it. I mean, I've gotten way more attaboys than all shits along the way. But yeah, look, it's when you're small, it's not your job, it's your life. Right? Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's not your job, it's your life when you're a small company. And even sometimes when you get to be a larger company like Fuente, right? Or Padron, it's their life. Right. It's not just their job. And sometimes some of those arrows, they hurt a little bit. You want to just take it and break it off in the guy's ass, but you don't. You know what I mean? Because there's no upside to doing so. But yeah, you want to, but it's kind of the way it works. It's the internet. It's the gig. I mean, look at my boy Pig Jimmy over here, man. He's all he does is fucking rant and rave, right? His negative reviews are way more entertaining than his good reviews. I can tell you that.
This is true. Yeah. It's more fun when a cigar's bad.
So that's what the audience wants, right?
Yeah.
And look, in the end, his job is to get clicks and subscribers and grow his channel and do whatever he wants to do with it ultimately. So, I mean, it's one of the things. Everybody, you have your own style of reviewing over there at Vintage. I mean, everyone has their own kind of take and way to get there. But yeah, I mean, it's the internet.
Okay, so since
you all are mean girls.
I was only mean about 2 of your cigars. I've been considered a fanboy. I was only mean about 2 of your cigars.
Yeah, we'll say that. If anyone, it's that guy right there. That's the cheerleader right there.
What's going to really upset you? I don't even know which 2, because there are so many people doing so many reviews and posted so much shit that if it isn't something about talking about me banging my grandma or like lighting some church on fire, the chances of me seeing it are almost 0.
No, but you actually replied. You actually replied to both of them.
Crazy.
Surprisingly. All right, but since we're here though, the Wagashi.
Yeah.
How do you feel about just the way that rolled out and the reaction that came from the Wagashi?
Look, Wagashi, I think part of it too is just bad. I think it's bad storytelling on my part, to be honest with you, because I always knew Wagashi wasn't another blue or a bigger blue with a green band. Wagashi was a milder, creamier representation of the regular brulee. So it was not meant for the blue guy. It was really meant for the person that didn't think blue was the best brulee and preferred the Toro. And there's a lot of them. In fact, more people prefer of the consumer base. I mean, if you look at social media and all this, it's brulee blue by far, right? It's the one. Every retailer gets their boxes. They're gone almost instantaneously.
It stays hot. Yeah.
It is the one, right? But guess what? Brulee blue is 10% of the sales of brulee, right? Brulee is the thing that churns. And you ask the guy that, hey, brulee blue is one of my favorite cigars. What do you think of the blue? Nah, a little too spicy for me.
Really?
Right? So Wagashi was meant for that guy that loves brulee, but wants something softer. And I kind of named it that way after such a delicate Japanese dessert, because it's basically almost flavor-free, right? It's a light touch, right? It's a light touch of sugar. It's a light touch of honey. It's a light touch of vanilla. So, I mean, then it's the name appropriate, but I don't know that I did a good enough story explaining who the cigar was for. And of course, Abe, sold it first. So Abe just steamrolled whatever the fuck I said. It didn't matter.
Yeah, I'll be honest.
I think it's coming around.
When I first smoked it, it was just really, it wasn't what I was expecting, like what you said. But when I tried it again, after you kind of came out and explained that more, that it was supposed to be milder expression, I kind of had some separation and I came back to it with a more open mind. And maybe just had a little bit more rest. I don't know, but I enjoyed it the second time I had it. But the first time I had it, it was like.
And let me say this, and this is one of the problems you have, like where you're in a situation like me. Everybody has such eager anticipation for the next blend you're going to release. And everybody has expectations which are just ridiculously high. And no matter what you do, it's not going to satisfy 4 out of 5 people, right? So it's like every single time you make anything new, things aren't for everyone. But one of my least favorite of the exclusive Ligas that I've made is Frog Juice. Frog Juice was one that I always kind of like, I'd smoke it and I think, man, this tastes like shit. But I'd hit this weird like pocket and it would just be so magical, right? And it was like almost like, wow, what's going on here? This is like, why now and why not then? And I had that love-hate with the blend the whole time. So it's kind of where you're asking about the name. So it's for Kentucky Derby. I didn't want to do something too on the nose, right? So the way this cigar was making me feel, making me crazy, and making me like, oh my God, this is fantastic. I love it. I got to have more. It made me think of drugs. because that's what I felt like. I felt like I was chasing the next good moment in the cigar.
Chasing that dragon.
Like you were through mediocrity. Oh my God, what the fuck is going on here? This is amazing. Oh, I'm loving this cigar. Mediocrity. It was blend drove me crazy. And so it's a weird cigar. So frog juice is a slang name that they give to the drugs that they shoot up racehorses with to juice them. So there's my Kentucky Derby tie-in. There's my tie-in about how the cigar makes me feel when I smoke it. It's a weird, stupid name. It's frog juice. It's memorable. Hey, I can go to Shutterstock. They have this like great drawing of some fucking Toad Mafia dude. Okay, I can grab that, add a cigar, call it a done deal, pay my usage rights of $185, and you know, do it all in the up and up. But yeah, and that's why frog juice. It's really a reference to the drug. And in fact, we sponsored one of the pre-derby races, and they realized at the last moment that it was sponsored by frog juice, and they were in a scramble to change it to DuMbarton Tobacco and Truck because they just want to put frog juice up on the jumbotron.
Yeah, that's funny. Get the wrong idea.
That's good shit.
Well, so far this does not taste like shit. It's a very good cigar, and I
like it. Well, let me say this: I like it in that format. The original was like a Robusto, a 5.5 or so by 52 maybe, and it was also a Prensado. And this is a straight Poreo 6x48. It's a size that I blend a lot of cigars that they may, in my opinion, be my best cigars in those ring gauges.
Anything you make in a 648 is remarkable. Like, and I love that you go with that ring gauge particularly. You don't see it. You don't see people using it. It's always 652, 650. Hardly ever see 648.
Look, it's a hard sell. The retailers don't want them. The retailers want Robusto, Toro, Gordo. Anything they take after that is all charitable acts. Okay, in their perfect world, look, nearly well over 75% of all cigars sold are in those three sizes. So all the other sizes added together don't even make 30%. You know, Coronas, Lonsdales, Lanceros, Corona, Churchills, Torpedoes, Bellicosos, everything. The only thing that sells in quantity is Toro, Robusto, and Gigantes, the horse dick cigars. That's it, man.
Fuck out of here with those cigars, man. Do you see a change in the retailers now? Like, do you think there's a changing in the guard since a lot of us cigar nerds are kind of moving into that place? We're getting into our 30s, 40s. Do you see like? Yeah,
I see a shift in the brick and mortar ownership. It's a lot of the old school people are finally starting to retire, and look, they don't understand the cigar business. They're trying to look at it the way they looked at it 30 odd years ago when they were successful. And they're not understanding the customer. They are still of the weird belief that everything comes down to dollars and cents, and it just doesn't. What it comes down to is matching the right dollar and cents to the right customer. That's what you do, right? Because
all they're trying to impress.
You can't
cigar aficionado.
Look, it's tough though, man. You know, look, I had this conversation with Dave Garofalo the other day. We look at every cigar and we go, how the fuck do they cost this much? You know, we're in the business and we know the numbers. It's like, it just got so crazy. And like, remember when we used to get a whole box of these for $17.25 out the door? That was a 25 count box. And that was like a real brand, okay, that now sells for like $12, $13 a stick. And I was basically for less than a half, I was getting a 25 count box of those when I started buying cigars by the box. So it's really hard because you have this mentality, but it doesn't match the reality of now. The reality of now is it. And we also have to understand that the person who's 34, he doesn't remember that this cigar cost $1.70 or $17.25 count box, because that was literally 25, 30 years before he ever smoked his very first cigar, right? So he doesn't come to the game looking at that the way some of the old school retailers would. And so a lot of the old school guys, they think they have to compete on price, and They can't compete on price. They're stupid to try to compete on price. They're never going to beat the big online guys. They got all the advantages there. So what you have to do is you have to compete on customer service. You have to compete on relationship. You have to compete on curating your product well, making sure you have what in your store, not what you necessarily got, because if I bought 4, I got 1 box free. Okay. Because there's a reason they're giving that fucking box for free. When they're giving you that 5% discount on your wholesale price, if you only buy, $5,000, there's a reason they're doing that, because that shit ain't selling, or it at least ain't selling to the way it needs to sell. Because guess what? I hadn't done any damn discounts since 1997, and I don't know if I ever will again, because I've realized what a stupid idea it is. It just doesn't make sense. And particularly in our business, what's really gotten to be egregious is that products get released intentionally at a higher price than what they need to be, and basically ride the first 2 years at the higher price, understanding that that brand is going to slip down to become a 40% discount brand by design. So the product is just grossly overpriced for as long as it can survive, always knowing that where it really is going to fall is where it's in that discount, then at 40-50% off. And then I'm going to make a ton of them. Right. Going to live
Cigar International,
Cigar
Cigar
Bid. There are brands today that are built just for that purpose. Not because the cigar is good, not because it serves a certain flavor profile, not because, it's using some interesting material. Okay, none of that. It's just the whole thing has just become all about price points, all about the demographics of your consumer, target marketing. It's more about lifestyle for a lot of these companies than actually product.
So but they don't even do that right.
Oh, sorry, Jim. Yeah.
Oh, I was just gonna say they don't even do that right. They don't educate their consumers. They don't educate people as to why. It's why that my frugal videos are like the best ones, because people.
But they don't want you to be educated. They don't want an educated.
Well, no,
that's not their.
That's what I do.
Because
fuck those guys.
They so look when you're trying to sell somebody something that's just basically not a bad cigar, but a mediocre, decent cigar, burns well, draws well, but there's a lot of cigars that taste a lot better, but you got just big brand and you get a lot of consumers that buy it. The whole goal is to make the cigar not offensive.
Yeah.
Make it draw well, make it burn well. And guess what? You just satisfy like 85% of any cigar smoker's concerns, the average guy. You know what I mean?
Sadly.
Yeah, I mean that's what it is. So it's a totally different
the
part.
Average cigar smoker's gullible and kind of a boob.
Until we had the whole whatever, I can't remember her name, Dana, whatever, you guys will know. The Bud Light fiasco, it was the #1 selling beer. Somebody explain to me how the hell that happened. Bud Light. I mean, look, I like sissy girl light beers, man. I like those. So like,
so do I.
Right. So I mean, on a hot summer day, there's nothing better than tipping back something like that. So, but there's so many other ones that you could smoke. Other than
that's the thing, right?
It tastes so much better, right? But yet, Bud Light's #1. So it doesn't come down to the quality of the product.
It's accessible. It's what's accessible in that sense. Did you feel any pressure to deal with that whole like $40 cigar, limited edition, Zodiac branding, and all of that kind of shit? Did that affect DuMbarton Tobacco and Trust at all, or you just like fuck all of this shit over here?
No, I don't understand the question, because I want to make sure I'm commenting correctly. What are we talking about?
No, so like everybody's hopping on the bandwagon now to do this.
Yeah,
Zodiac
but
cigar.
that's my fault. I mean, whoever thought I'd be selling $100 fucking unicorn? And look, it was because honestly, before me, it was literally that was the territory of Davidoff, Padron, and Fuente.
Right.
Nobody was doing that at all, right? And
right.
I didn't even do it on purpose, because I didn't even sell the first 1,000 unicorns. We gave them away to the retailers because they were just so egregiously expensive. I was like, who's ever going to buy this shit? What are we going to do with this? Right? I mean, seriously. I mean, it's crazy. So we literally gave them away rather than try to convince anyone to buy them. And then next thing you know, here I am 7 years later, and I'm still making goddamn unicorns. And
thanks to
because
me,
this guy's buying them.
keeping that business alive.
I mean, but it goes back to that same thing. If you make 4,000 unicorns a year and you're making 1.8 million cigars, how much money is there really in your 4,000 unicorns?
Right.
That you have to basically tie up your very best pair, okay? Like shackle them to the table for 6 goddamn months. You know what I mean? To just make enough of these damn things. So I mean, but yeah, and I think that when other people like when I first started releasing the brands, my cigars were expensive. Okay, they were like everybody else is like 8 and 9, and I was like at 12. Right, I was the first guy to cross into that $15 with Sin Compromiso range. Same thing with Muestra, and I think they saw me being successful at it, and that's what led to a lot of them creeping up into the same territory. Right,
so it's your fault.
I think to a degree, but they're just foolish because the problem they have is it's not the price of the product. What's relevant is the value factor. Does the consumer who spends his $17.95 for this crazy cigar, does he feel as though when he's smoking it that he's getting $18 or better in experience? And that's the only criteria you need to meet, okay? Because everything else can be judged by consumers' wallets. Hey, I can't smoke that price point cigars, so I'm going to search for what I can in the $6 range, see what gives me the most satisfaction, right? But it's the same equation we all do. Is it worth the squeeze? Do I feel like I'm getting value? And that's where the price is actually irrelevant, other than you having the understanding that when you're at a higher price point, there are going to be less of those customers. And when you're at a lower price point, there's way more. So you're way off better selling to the masses than selling to the classes, right? I mean, I'm sure you guys have all heard that, sell the classes, yada, yada, sell the masses to get rich or something. But I mean, it's a certain target. And I think that a lot of people like crept up into my price zone, right? Because it seems like now I'm not really expensive anymore. Everybody's like 14, 15, average. 16. Yeah, I'm feeling like I got to like raise the price just to gussy myself up a little bit. But
no, chill out.
But I mean,
you got to go there.
I don't think they're being successful there. Because it's hard to overcome. Look, retailers only have so much shelf space. They're only going to dedicate so much of it to brands. They have to pick and choose which of these boutiques, smaller, whatever brands, and they're going to want to take the ones that are the least risky. I mean, yeah, you have those shops that are like in the crazy boutique brands, and they get everything all the time. They have a constant churn. It's part of what their thing is, but that's not most stores. Most stores, they're really stingy with their shelf space. And you got a lot of people actively competing for it. You know, sales guys going in and out the door all the time. Hey, we love you, blah, blah, blah. Here's a free pizza. Let me give you this. Let me give you that. So, and look, we have to compete with those because we don't have, other than a couple states, but not most. We have no representation.
Are you fighting for that shelf space now, or do you have more people coming to you trying to get you to fill that shelf space?
Well, right now, what I know is we have more demand than we have the capacity to produce. So we really, last year,
critical mass.
So normally what we do is every year during the trade show, we make, if someone's willing to come to the trade show, because I think coming to the trade show is important for a lot of other reasons than coming as a buyer. But so the trade show is like the only time of year that we guarantee that we will open you as a new account. So we tend to open people in the trade show, but even some of the people we opened the last trade show, we have yet to actually open them because we don't have enough product to give them yet. So it's kind of like we collect a name, a queue, and then we start working down that queue, and then we're working down this queue because look, it's an impossible game. You got all these tobacco issues, and you got production issues and labor issues and import issues and export issues. And you're always trying to figure out how many of what to make, right? And how many do I need? In what pattern and what? And I can tell you, I've been basically doing this as a primary since the year 2000. I still have no fucking clue what's going on, man. It's like just craziness sometimes. You have so much of something because it was selling so great, and all of a sudden it stops selling, and whatever you think is the worst thing that you have, all of a sudden you got 400 boxes on back order for, like, what? This is our worst cigar. Why are they buying this cigar? It's so weird. And so look, it makes it tough. And you don't want to be in a perpetually back ordered situation, because that doesn't help me at all. Right? What good is that? Sure. Retailers can't get people onto your brand if they don't feel comfortable that they're going to continue to get it to serve those particular customers. And as consumers, you want a steady supply of what you want, right? And so, and look, me as a business owner, I want to supply that, because back orders, guess what? They don't make any money at all, right? What makes money is when we put cigars out the door and deliver them to our customers, and then hopefully their customers buy and smoke them so that they buy from us again. The whole jungle, this is the way it works. And so, yeah, I mean, it's I don't even know where this rambling conversation started. What the fuck were we talking about in the beginning? What led me down this rabbit hole?
We were talking about the price of the cigars, and I was asking you, like, are you trying to get on the shelves, or are they coming to you now? And it seems like they're coming to you.
The answer is, yeah, I always want to be on more shelves, but the answer right now is everybody that's asking is kind of like we're having to slow roll them into the program.
Right.
Yeah.
And look, we've gotten much harder to open with. I mean, back in the beginning, we would, good, please take 8 of my boxes of my cigars and we'll be happy to be in your store. And now, no, we make them, you have to carry so many of these 4 brands initially. It's going to cost you X amount of dollars. This is a mandatory purchase. And if that's too much for you, then I understand. And we just move on, because I also know that because of the brand becoming more popular, I'm running into another problem. Those stores that don't carry a lot of it, people go to them based on our website, go visit that shop to get there to be ultimately disappointed in the selection.
Yeah.
Right. So we've been closing accounts slowly.
Wow.
We're not asking anyone for sales. The sales have to come naturally, organically. The market has to be the pull. Because no matter what I say, it's not going to be different than what anybody else that's trying to sell cigars, right? The proof is, do they sell for the retailers? If they sell for the retailers, that's all that ultimately matters. So
why do you think that's the mentality in cigars? Because it seems like this industry is very adverse to marketing in any sort of way, except for like make a cool fucking band. But as far as actually, like, you seem to be into the metrics a lot more than what I've seen, and a lot of people are just like, yeah, it's here, foot traffic, whatever sells. And because I've been contacting a lot of shops, and it's like foot traffic and prayer. That's what they're all relying on, and that, as a business owner, seems crazy to me.
So, Jimmy, you have to understand that we literally do the crudest task on the planet. When you think about what we're doing, we are basically hand harvesting a crop like it's the 1880s. Okay. Sure. We're doing everything by hand. We got no machinery for anything. It takes us 3 to 5 years to have any hope of making any money on our initial investment. You're selling into an incredibly fickle market. You're selling into a place where you have just an uneasy tax base across from state to state. You have ridiculous regulations coming at you at a federal level and a state level. There is nothing about our business that should make you ever think that anyone that's actually in it, like myself, has a half a fucking bit of sense. Okay.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
Because it's just the stupidest way to make money. I mean, literally, it is the dumbest way ever. So you're now asking those people why they don't get marketing. We've already
why they don't. I mean, education is like the basis of selling something. Is why is this important? And they're like, well, this guy leaves, and I put a band.
And we got Mickey Mouse on the band, so there you go.
And it's like that's where it dies. And I'm like, why would you not spend? You spent all this time and years invested in building this, and then you hope it's just going to sit on a shelf and sell. That mentality seems crazy to me, but that seems to be the norm.
It is the norm. Yeah, I think. Look, I think further from too is it's just not a rich business, man.
Sure,
it just isn't. There's a way to make a decent living. There's a way to become well off in life, but the only way you get actually rich is when somebody buys you out for real dollars. And
that's happened a lot right now. A lot of people are getting bought out.
They're getting bought out, but a lot of them are getting bought out to basically have a job, right? I mean,
true.
Yeah,
CEO. Look, I'm not naming
now
names,
you're a creative director,
in a critical way, but it's the reality of the situation, right?
No, but we know who you're talking about. We're aware, and we understand that.
It's different when, Alan Rubin and Alec Bradley gets bought out for whatever that was, 72, 74, 75, I don't even remember the exact number, but just a really good number. There's a guy that got rich.
Yeah.
Right? But along the way, he didn't start taking a real paycheck out of this pig until like 3 years ago.
What?
And I think I'm just the point now that I'm equal with what my Drew Estate salary was and bonus package. That's after 10 years of grinding, man.
10 years. Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. So from a personal career point of view, financially, this was a real setback. I could have been smarter.
So how do you feel leaving Drew Estate? Now you went off on your own. Is that pride there for saying like, okay, I got DuMbarton established. I got my name established as Steve Saka, not as the president of this company. Is there a difference in there? Do you feel like, do you miss one part of Drew Estates, or do you feel like, pride in what you're doing now?
Well, yeah, for Drew Estate, there are parts of Drew Estate I miss. Look, there was a lot of people. I mean, most of the people in the U.S. side are gone. They've been moved out or moved along. There's a few, like Joey's still there and Laura's still there. There's a few of the old guard still mixed in there, but for the most part, it's an entirely different world, the corporate side of Drew. But a lot of people in the factory I miss working with, because a lot of those same people, they're still there. Yesenia, Marlon, and Rubio, but look, I'm on good terms with everybody, so
right.
It's not like a problem. So I can interact.
You look at them as competition now.
Competition, yeah, absolutely. Look, this is one of the other things too. I think they're the only competition. I know somebody would look at me and Nicholas maybe being competitors, right?
Yeah.
The reality is, I don't want 50% of Nicholas's business, because it ain't dick. What I want is 3% of their business at the top, 4% of their business. Okay,
that's the market share.
Yeah, beating up on my teammates like Eric Espinoza or Nicholas Melillo. What the fuck is that gonna get me? Right? And shitting on the people beneath me, what is that going to get me? There's no upside to that either. You don't want anyone not to do well, right?
Right.
In the end, consumers are going to decide. There's no control over that. So but no. So no, I want to eat off Altidus's plate. I want to eat off Swisher's plate. I want to eat off Davidoff's plate. Those are the plates I want to eat, because they're the ones with the food on them. I mean, yeah.
People like to knock Swisher till you look at how big they are, and you're like,
no, they're a well-run, good company. Don't get me wrong. That's
no, not you specifically. Just the consumer side of the industry likes to talk shit on Swishers in general, but it's a massive company. They sell more cigars almost than anyone.
But here's the long-term reality of all of this: are there going to be any companies left? I mean, the way it looks
that's what I was looking at.
It looks like everything is going to be bought out by the money guys, right? Every big money management market fund in the world, all of these investors are now buying companies out like crazy, right?
Yeah.
They want these companies in their portfolio. It's the craziest thing. I've never seen anything like it. So, I mean, I think eventually, all of these things get owned the way the Chinese and Altadis are owned, right? Habanos. I'm sorry. Chinese owns Habanos and Altadis USA.
So how much money are they throwing at DuMbarton?
I'm sorry?
Go, Jimmy.
I was just saying, is that the goal for most people? Do they want to be bought out?
Yeah, I mean, look, that was always the goal of Drew Estate. I mean, that was what the intent was. I think it was the intent before I got there. I mean, that was the goal because that is the only way to make real money. The other way you make real money is hey, I'm the Fuentes and I've been here for 3 generations. Hey, I'm Padron and here I've been here for going into my 3rd generation. Right?
Yeah.
That's the only way you can, because it just takes so long. It's so hard to get a brand established that's going to have wide enough consistent market appeal. You know, that's a real achievement what those companies have managed to accomplish, and they didn't do it. They did it over the course of decades, and that's decades of wearing everybody else out of the market that wanted to be where they are. Now, here's the other thing. The flip side of this: nobody stays king of the hill.
Mm-hmm.
So those brands, regardless of how great they are and how great the product is and how great the family is and all these things, it will slowly end up diminishing in appeal because there will be a generation of consumers that want to pick their own thing. Just the same way since we left Cuban cigars, you know, it was Hoy de Nicaragua was the #1 selling cigar in America. Tiamo was the #1 selling cigar in America. H. Upmann was the #1 selling brand in America. Macanudo, #1 selling brand in America. On and on, Romeo and Julieta, boom, boom, boom. It always changes, right? So your time at the top of the mountain is just the way consumers think, as consumers. It's so the only way you get beyond that is when you have a brand that transcends time, where it has such a romantic attachment to it, right? This is top of mind to me because I just was in Italy, but Borsalina hats. Borsalina hats, for anyone that's into hats, Italian hat maker, world famous, you know, boom, boom. They have a brand that has somehow gone from 1857 making hats, and here we are in 2024, and they still just make hats, right? But look at that. That's over a century and a half of history of just making Italian hats, okay? And that's why I think it's really hard when you're the small guy, because there's no money to get rich on selling the small volumes of cigars. And there's no money to get rich quick, even selling on the higher volume of cigars. It's a long-term kind of play game. Now, is there enough money that you can earn a good living? Yeah, you can earn a nice living. Okay. But you're taking an awful lot of risk for just a living. You know, you end up with millions and millions of dollars at play at all times, even a company like us. I mean, it's crazy.
Speaking of risk and capacity and things, I remember listening to an interview you did a while back just about some of the challenges with the talent that's leaving Nicaragua and those countries in terms of rollers and bunchers and, you know, farmers. Is that still a challenge, or was that? Yeah,
they're losing a lot of labor force. Look, you can have whatever discussion you want, you can have whatever political perspective you want, but the reality is we've lost 20% of the Nicaraguan population in the last 2 years because they have been illegally immigrating to the United States until the government, through its wisdom, created a new government program called the Parolee program that had people from certain countries could apply, and within like a month and just $300, they could get a legal transit visa into the United States. So it was a way for our government to take the illegal numbers and shift them into the legals. Okay. And because now you don't have to do the coyote thing. If you're from these particular countries, and I don't know, you'd have to look it up. It's called the parole program. There's about 8 or 9 countries. If you're from those countries, it's incredibly easy. So what's happened is we have now, where you're in Nicaragua, you used to have to say, oh, well, I'm going to be without my family, and I'm going to have to go through the hell of being with a coyote all the way up through the middle of Central America into Mexico to eventually cross a river. Now, no, you pay $300, you fill out a piece of paper, you wait about 4 weeks, and they say, guess what? And then you can just get on a plane to Miami with you can see them all. When you go to Miami, if you look around, if you see people holding these brown and translucent folders in their hands, that's all the paperwork they give them. So here, you're now able to legally immigrate to the United States. So you'll often see them clutching it in their hands because they don't want to lose it. And I don't blame them. I don't want to lose it either. But
Right.
so going back to what I was really saying, regardless of what your political opinion is of this, the reality is for us in Nicaragua, we've lost 20% of the population, and 20% isn't an accurate representation because it isn't the children and it isn't the 70-year-olds leaving.
Yeah.
It's all of that working age.
Bodies.
Women. So yeah, labor has become a tremendous problem. It really has. And in a lot of the ancillary stuff, box making is a disaster right now. Just an utter disaster.
If you had to put a number on that 20%, what do you think it would be of people?
I would say of the working group, I think it's 40% of the workers have left the country.
Whoa.
Wow.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wow.
So how do you say nothing changes? How do you deal with that?
You just scrap.
Yeah.
You grind. You do whatever you can do. Look, I'm coming into summer. We're having our best year ever. We're like crazy up, right? Stupid up. But I'm coming into summer with not enough cigars. I have no real inventory. I'm a big inventory guy. I always like to try to keep 2 months of inventory in the States all the time. I just take the financial risk. I believe in the product. I believe it's going to sell. I believe there's a customer for it. So the only thing that we make to order that there's no risk factor on is obviously the exclusives because those are done in batches to size. And the only other thing is like unicorns. Unicorns are like cap. But everything else, we're making it all the time, right? There's the best sellers, the worst sellers, but of course you're putting more effort into the better sellers, and you have less this. But the problem has become we've slipped so far behind with the labor problem that I'm coming into summer with maybe 2 weeks of inventory at best in some of the products.
Wow.
And it's just going to be a summer that I think we're going to leave a lot of money on the table this summer.
Wow.
Just by not having product.
And just because can't rush it. I mean, because the reason it's selling is because people like what it is. So just turning the knob up faster is a recipe for disaster. You're going to ruin what good you have. What's the point of that, right? So you just have to slowly try to work your way through it and pay workers more than they probably would get paid otherwise. That's already happening. Like you guys, that's the other thing that's really scary. So we ended up kind of like, I don't know. It started like last summer. We finally started getting like flat inflation. I mean, the prices weren't coming down, but they had stopped increasing. So we had like the tail end of 2023. No, it was 2022. Tail end of 22. And going into 23 also, about halfway through. Yeah. So we had like a whole year where things weren't crazy. And I thought, okay, finally things are stabilized. And then whatever, about 6 months ago, it's just all gone bonkers again.
But in the midst of that, dude, it seems like you ratchet up production, though. I mean, better.
Yeah, no. Look, we're growing production. Yeah, of course. But you also have to understand I'm growing production because somebody else is shrinking production, right?
Yeah. Okay.
It's a fixed pie game, man. There's only so many people that smoke cigars, and they only smoke so many cigars. There's only so many people that smoke handmade premium cigars. So if Saka is selling one extra cigar, that means somebody else is selling one less cigar. I mean, that's just the
way it is.
Yeah, because it's a fixed market for all. Look, we got a little growth when we got some more black urban guys kind of got into the smoking thing. That seems to have kind of like tapered off. It's kind of where it's at. We got but yeah, I mean, we don't really get serious growth trends. I mean, it's a pretty fixed kind of pie that we're working with here, which is kind of weird because when you think about what the setting at the table is, you would think we would be much more cutthroat against the other companies, but oddly enough, we're not. And I think it has to do with the fact that we're in the cigar business, and cigar smokers, there's a shared camaraderie. So I think that kind of kind of spills over to the business end of it. Now, as we get more of these corporate wonks, which they're going to keep coming, it's eventually not going to matter. Well, they're just not cigar smokers. They'll smoke a cigar, but they're not cigar smokers.
Is there not a movement to be more aggressive towards those larger companies? Like, because as you said, there's only so much of the pie. Instead of cannibalizing each other, how do you go after larger companies?
You be very strategic in the way you brand your product. You think about who their customer is today and what boxes do they reach into. What is not going to be a barrier to entry for them? What's not going to be something that's going to make them resistant? Because you're looking at, what's going to make a consumer think that this square press cigar has equal merit to a Padron, or why should I smoke a Sober Mesa Brulee over smoking an Ashton Classic or a Rome Monte Cristo White? You know what I mean? So you're really thinking about that consumer. Now, along the way, you're trying to put really good cigars in the box because you obviously want cigar smokers, the enthusiasts, to really like your brand. Because if they like your product and like your brand, it makes it that much easier because they end up being the ones that talk about your brand. And look, I can say whatever I say, but it doesn't have as much weight as when somebody that has no commercial vested interest says it. Right? When somebody says, "Hey, I really enjoyed that Papa Saka. I thought it was really good." Oh, this bronze back, hey, it's worth checking out for whatever it costs. I don't even know, $9. That's where you're hoping, because that's the part that has the most sway in the long run. More than any, you can't market your way to being successful. So look, Fuentes, Padrones, the marketing helped to maximize, but they were in a position to be those companies because of the type of products they were making at the time. Okay, and exceptions have gone on to make. So it's an earned position. But yeah, it's.
What is your opinion on us as reviewers? Like you've helped us out a lot.
Yeah,
and not many people have done what you've done.
No, look, because I used to do exactly what you're doing, right? I just didn't have I didn't have video, thank God. Nobody wants to watch that. We didn't have podcasts. But I was doing the same thing. I had this thing called the monthly officious taste test, and we were reviewing cigars. And I don't know. I take it in stride for the most part. I don't mind it. Look, I want people to rate the cigars. I want them to review them. Look, you're hoping they don't get a dud because there's duds. There's ones that aren't going to draw and aren't going to burn right. They're going to be all fucked up, even if the brand's a fantastic brand. But every fantastic brand has duds. So you're always hoping a reviewer doesn't get one of those damn duds, because just as much as it can happen to anyone else.
It's a handmade product.
Yeah, but look, you get one chance to make a first impression, right?
Sure.
And look, that person doesn't have the benefit of knowing that. Well, yeah, he gets 2 cigars and they're tight. Not understanding that might be the only 2 cigars within like 400, right?
Right.
His experience is 100%. 2 cigars, they were both tight. This brand sucks. They don't know how to make cigars.
Yeah.
Just that simple. That's straight up. So, it's a tough market. But you want the product to warrant the accolades, because then it just makes it easier when you try to make the next step and try to get the cigar consumer that's not a cigar geek to give your brand a shot.
When you were doing reviews, what was your format like?
To look at it exactly, I can't even remember, but it was like broken up in categories like burn and draw. What we had, and taste and aroma and blah blah blah, and they were like separate, like 5 points for each. And what we'd have is I have 3 blind testers a month. I would just take cigars out of my personal humidor that I bought, and I would get them each, one of each cigar, and then they would write a blind review, and then I would publish what they exactly said, how they exactly rated it, and then I would just kind of do a summary at the bottom. But so I mean, the fact that people create cigar content is just good for my business.
Sure.
Right? It's good for the industry. So for me, I like all the cigar content. I like the different voices, even if I don't always like what they're saying. I mean, look, there's some programs I sit and I just like, fuck, like 40% of what's coming out of their mouths is just not right. It's just not factual. It's just wrong. And you just want to bang on the keyboard like a monkey, right?
Right.
And you're just being a total douchebag to the person that's creating the content, right? And look, it's just, so yeah, it happens.
You got to say your piece too, though.
You know, but
that's how you end up on the smoke show.
But for the most part,
it's like a paragraph this long on my video.
I take a pretty hands-off approach with you guys for the most part. You know, once a year we say, hey, we're getting ready to send out samples. You know, if you want them, tell us where to ship them to, and you know, we do that. But look, I was doing them back when I was at Drew Estate, you know, 20 odd years ago. It's just the only, of course, these are the people that are reviewing cigars. They probably didn't smoke that cigar. A lot of it is a lot of it when you do that, like October, is a good time because you may have smoked an Umbagog Bronze back in April and thought it was fantastic, but you've smoked a lot of other cigars as a reviewer because you have your schedule and you have to publish reviews. I don't think people realize it's work smoking cigars for reviews. It really is.
It's work.
It takes a lot. And so a lot of times you'll send those samples up really just to give that person a reminder of why they thought it was such an amazing cigar that they wrote about in April, right? Because they've had so many other cigars along the way. So because most of my cigars are reviewed long before the end of the year.
Yep. Well, especially with PCA being kind of towards the middle, now even further towards the beginning of the year. You know, when those releases come out, by the time they come out, we're now in June. That's the time. This is the time. So it's like from June to October, a reviewer could have had 50, 60. If your cigar Hound Dog, 100 cigar reviews.
4.2 million views. You know, nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Light work.
Just Matt things.
That's a lot of work.
Matt, someone was asking in the chat, how's that frog juice doing for you?
It's consistent, but very good. Very good. Smoking slow, too.
Nice. Steve, what are you finding most of lately?
I've been smoking, so we have a lot of limiteds coming out here.
Yeah.
Barbara Amaria is about to land. Doing another Halligan.
Small batch.
Did another U-boat. Working on a blend for my friends at Harrisburg. You know, I've got a blend that I've been working on for Cigars Daily, and I have obviously the Black Angus, the FSG. So I'm working on what I want to be the 10th anniversary next year, and I got 2 other blends I haven't finalized yet. So I'm smoking a lot of just samples, There isn't, I'm smoking a Saka Con today, but most of what I've been smoking for like the last, I don't know, fucking seems forever.
I know you get this question all the time, man, but when you're not smoking DuMbarton, what are you going out and smoking? Like,
so I used to have answers for that, and now I can't even honestly say it just to look good because I don't.
Because you're too busy with the samples, or just like
it used to be true, and I used to try to make
control
of it, you know. But look, I'm still cigar geek. I'm still interested. I still will try something, but I mean, somebody has to kind of really bring it to my attention, or it's something I'm really genuinely curious about. So I still smoke other stuff, but right now I got so many different blends. You can't just smoke the new stuff that you're doing. You gotta smoke all the old stuff all the time to make sure it's staying where it's supposed to stay. I gotta tell you, I got too much shit. It's a lot. It's a lot to stay on top of all these fucking different ligas. It really is.
I was trying to figure out how you keeping up, man. With all the shit that you did in 23 and 24, like how are you keeping up, man? It's like, dude, you've been busy, bro.
It's insanity, and but
How many blends are you actively working on at any given time? I know you kind of have a log, or you have a bunch that you might bring to the market, but like ones that you're actively looking to like actually bring to market. How many of those do you have going on?
About 8 right now.
Jeez.
Yeah, wow. I got about 8 active blending projects right now. Yeah.
Is that average, or is that on the high end of what you typically have?
Seems to have been the norm for too long. Yeah.
You don't sound like you're slowing down though.
Here's the thing. I have the ability to make way more cigars, create way more cigars, I should say.
Right.
And I have the ability to brand and market and sell.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I have a lot of blends that are just really solid blends. But
do you have stuff that's like just waiting, or like
Yeah. Yeah. I guess. Yeah. I got tons of stuff, but I can't sell it. I can't afford to sell it, because every time something else grows, that requires more money to feed it. You know what I mean? And one of the things that's good or bad, we have a very even portfolio sales-wise, which is really unusual. Most companies have like 1 or 2 like real winners, and they're like 70% of the sales. And
so what do you have behind the scenes that you love right now, that you like smoking, that you think would kill in the market if you could put it out right now? Like something that would make us go crazy.
I think the 10th anniversary, I'm really happy with. I think it's going to be
I was going to ask about that.
I mean, I think that one's going to be a winner. Not going to be a winner for the Brule Toro guys, so they can skip it. Okay, but I think it'll be a winner for my Mi Querida fellas. And I think it'll still work in the window for the Sin guys that are willing to go. But yeah, for the Brule guys, they ain't getting shit for the 10th anniversary.
They'll be all right. We're not worried about them. So what's the difference with this bronze back compared to the original Umbagog? What made you decide like, okay,
it's the wrapper.
Kind of
so Connecticut broadleaf, we don't classify it into primings because it's stock cut. But you basically have sand leaf that gets trashed off the plant in the field. And then we have a section of plant that's 1 LS. Then we have a section of plant that's 2 LS. And they have from the midpoint up to the corona leaves is called mediums. Except in years where it's incredibly dry and really extra hot, then we will get number 1 darks as a 4th classification at the top of the plant. So when you get naturally fermented Connecticut broadleaf, really to get at the color that everybody wants, which is dark, you have to use the mediums and above. That's what you have to use. The 1 LS is a quality product that isn't good enough for you to really use on handmade cigars, unless they're like incredibly cheap bundle. But most of that just gets sold off to the mass market guys. They buy the 1 LSs. You now, as a manufacturer, have these 2 LS leaves. They don't get as pretty. The color tends to be a bit splotchy when you naturally ferment them. Sometimes they come out glorious, but other times they come out rather kind of still shiny, still oily. So they got oil, but they don't have what people think of as a Maduro tobacco color. They really look kind of like a light EMS sometimes. And they almost always have this like really reddish hue. And the other thing is it has a very distinct taste at this stage of the plant. It's less earthy, it's less chocolatey, it's less sweet, and it's more peppery, which is a really weird thing because on almost every other plant, it's always the top leaves that are the most peppery. Okay, but oddly enough, it ends up being the 2 LSs because of probably the way we have to try to ferment and treat them. We're not banging out all the punch. I don't know, but they're just taste different. So because they taste different and because they aren't that pretty, what most manufacturers have been doing with these for decades is they put them in a caldera. And a caldera is just basically a fancy steam tray. Okay. And they steam the tobacco. And when they steam the tobacco, it gets just jet black, gorgeous, right? It's like super dark, super even. And if you oversteam it, it gets kind of a gray cast to it and it looks lifeless. So you have to know how to steam. There's a bit of talent in actually steaming the tobacco in a caldera because it can be done right, it can be done wrong. So they steam it and it ends up gorgeous, but it basically makes the wrapper neutral in flavor because all the things that make that wrapper taste good have been dripping down into the basin of the steam tray. Okay.
Yeah.
So all that oily tobacco flavory goodness is gone, but the wrapper is fucking gorgeous. So what they do with it is they then wrap it on their cigars that sell for in the $2 and the $4 bundles. So that's why sometimes you'll see some of those really super cheap bundle Maduro cigars. They'll look better than the cigars that are $14 Liga Privada because that wrapper has been steamed, but it's just not going to have any flavor.
I've had a few of those.
So going back in the 80s,
I think they call those master blends.
There was a brand that started to use these 2LSs naturally fermented in their ugly color. Didn't sell them as trying to make a big deal out of them being Connecticut broadleaf because at that time people didn't care about all the details. Nobody asked that question. They asked if it was big or small, light or dark, strong or mild. Literally, that was the questions. Consumers weren't ever asking about where was something from. And it was a pretty successful brand for a long time there. And regretfully, they stopped making them, and the brand still exists, but they don't make cigars like these anymore. And I just remember really enjoying those cigars. I'm like, you know what? You got a lot of 2LS here. Just keep steaming it and putting it on shitty cigars that don't sell for any money, right? Looks good, but the cheap ass cigars can't sell them for more than what we sell them for. So why don't we just take some of this and put it on the Omagog blend because I think the blend will work well with it because it's still Connecticut broadleaf. The blend actually hasn't changed. The ingredients are the same. It just happens to be the wrapper's 2LS instead of a medium or up, and it just changes the profile of the smoke. It's a much spicier kind of cigar, a little rough, I think, in some spots, but
can be.
Yeah, but I think that's the charm of what that wrapper was and why I liked it back in the 80s was it gave me that flavor profile that I couldn't get out of a Habano seed wrapper. There's a way to get some spice, a little bit of pepper love in Connecticut broadleaf because there is none in any other, right? Connecticut broadleaf ends up being sweet and earthy in the end. Connecticut shade ends up being mild. Okay, I guess you could argue that the sun-grown Habano, the T52 wrapper, that wrapper has some pop to it. So you gotta give him credit. So yeah, just prove my theory.
Are there plans to expand the Vitolas of the Bronzeback?
If Bronzeback sells well, yeah. I already know what I want to call it. I want to call it Silverback. Right? Because I'm lazy and I'm childish and it just
that shit works though, dude. That works, man.
Keep it simple.
It's so dumb.
Saka, Silverback, that works.
And I'll get the band with silver on it instead of the bronze, and there you go.
Easy money.
I think where the easy money parts come into a problem though is I've always tried to keep Umbagog as a sub $10 brand. And it can't stay there. No matter how much I wish it could, it just can't. The prices it's going to become, they're all going to eventually cross the $10 price hold, and then the big one's going to get to be like $11.75, and it's just, if this inflation doesn't stop, man, it's crazy.
But the price side is you're holding our hand though, because you're taking us from the regular Umbagog to the Bronzeback. The Bronzeback. Personally, I think it's amazing. I think everybody here thinks it's amazing. So if we go up to Silverback and it's just as good and gonna get even better, you're walking us up to that price range. It's nothing wrong with that. It's just when you jump into like a $40 cigar.
I gotta tell you right now, I think you just knowing, because if I make the Silverback a larger ring, it won't be as poppy as the Bronzeback.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's the thing too. You got to control, because listen, I am not going to. Umbagog is a very simple blend. It's meant to be a simple blend. It's good, but I don't think it's one of my greatest. I think when you smoke Umbagog, there's a little bit of Russian roulette going on. All the cigars will be good, and every once in a while, you're gonna get that bundle. Is like, why the fuck would I ever buy a Mi Querida when I can just buy this? Right?
Okay.
Yeah.
You're 100% right. But the problem is, those ones aren't always there.
Not consistent. They're not going to be as consistent.
Umbagog is made like a much more traditional handmade cigar. It's a little bit more latitude in the tobaccos that end up in an Umbagog, because they're the tobaccos that didn't end up in a Mi Querida. All right.
Yeah.
Now, sometimes there's so much good quality of everything, Top Charlie, that, it is the exact same tobacco, identical grades. But typically when you start getting into your high Visos and your Ligeros, you're not getting the same grade that a Mi Querida is getting. But you're also not paying the same price. Mi Querida is a far more consistent experience than Umbagog, in my opinion. Umbagogs, there's a certain level of variance in Umbagogs. But I think the level of variance is pretty much the kind of the common norm in most brands these days. I mean,
yeah, hell yeah.
Look, it's one of the reasons why brands like Fuente and Padron become who they are, is because like the blend, don't like the blend, it's a consistent blend. When you pick that cigar up out of the box, exactly what experience you are going to get. And playing that long ball game where you get consumers that, look, that becomes their cigar, man. Padron guy.
What's wrong with if you're out and doing work in your yard, if you're on a boat like you were saying with the Umbagog or whatever, what's wrong with being able to have that? If you want a Mi Querida, but you don't want to waste your Mi Querida,
I don't care what anyone smokes. Ultimately, I want to smoke DuMbarton, but to me, it doesn't make a difference which of the DuMbartons they smoke.
Right.
I mean, because they're all priced appropriate to their cost to manufacture. So there's no winner where, if I sell more Sin Compromisos, I make more money, but I had to spend more money to make more money, right? So selling just as many Umbagog and more Umbagog is just as much a win as the company selling Sin Compromisos. But that's just because of how I choose to do my pricing, where it's just directly attached to what cost of goods are. Because look, every time I was at another company, you always wish brand X was sell better than brand Y because you made that for profit on brand X. My setup is where everything pretty much makes about the same profit. So hey, go out there, children, do your thing. But some of you are going to win and some of you are going to suck, and that's just going to be the way it is. You know what I mean? And I think it's just way more blends than I have the capacity to ever brand or sell. Just too many.
Steve,
but I love that part of the job, man.
Yeah.
That's the part that's fun.
Sound like a perk to me.
Almost all the rest of this shit sucks. There's like a few parts of the job that are actually fun.
Steve, any plans on coming out with a $60 Zodiac that falls apart?
I don't even know what we're referring to. What is this Zodiac?
Like the Year of the Dragons, Year of the Tigers, all those.
Oh.
Year of the Rat.
Let me say this. I am going to have my own take on this year of.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, I'm tired of everyone getting the free money. But hopefully I'm going to earn mine. But yes, there will be a year of, and I think you're going to be very surprised by what it is. I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be a very. It's a good moment for us.
I would love to be surprised. I'm one of the biggest haters on the Zodiacs, so
it's because they're terrible.
Yeah.
I don't know that. Look, first off, I haven't smoked most of them, but I've had quite a few of the Davidoff ones. There were years I liked better than other years, but I didn't think they were terrible.
No, there's another company I have in mind I won't name.
Yeah, there's like 4 of them doing it now.
Yeah.
What was your favorite year of the Davidoff?
Easy, right? It's like, come on, no brain marketing, right?
Yeah.
So simple. And this year happens to be the fucking dragon. So it's the coolest one, right?
The coolest one.
The year of the hair, you wouldn't see so many people doing it. But the fact that it's the year of the dragon, like, okay, it's the dragon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was your favorite that you smoked out of the Davidoff stuff?
I actually think it was the Year of the Tiger, the one with the weird wrapper on it.
Really, you like that a lot? Okay.
Yeah, well, I didn't say I liked it a lot, but you asked me which one my favorite was. Look, it's not nothing. Most of those Davidoff Dominican style cigars, they're just not blending to what my palate likes.
Sure.
Not that they're bad cigars; they're just not cigars for me. Look for me. One of my big pimp up sticks was like one of those Tubos from Davidoff. I remember, like in 1992 when I could swing my dick around a little bit and go up to the white and buy one of those. I buy one of those, man. And so, I mean, special R, special T's, double R. So I went through a little bit of a Davidoff phase. But now the blends are they're just too mild, too subtle, too not there. I'm not the customer for it, right? But they're still great cigars. They're just not great for me.
So when you were out on vacation, what were you eating? When you were in Italy, what were you eating and what were you smoking on? Like when you came back, you're not working.
Yeah, I really intentionally didn't work much. I mean, those few social media posts I did were the only things I did were really work. I was, that's not true. I worked in the morning, so that doesn't count. Anyways, we ate all local. We tried to take it all in. We were lucky. Look, it was our 40th anniversary trip. I spent way more money than makes any sense whatsoever. And we just did it really right, from really nice accommodations in Rome and private tours every day. And, we're going to this restaurant because this is a special restaurant. We had a good time.
You have any good wine?
Here's the problem. I had a lot of good wine, but I don't know what any of it is, because that whole Italian wine thing is like, it might as well be Greek to me. I mean,
right.
I could hold my own with California. I can fake my way through most French, but man, Italian wine. So we basically lived on the goodwill of the wait staff the entire trip, and just saying, listen,
right.
I'm fine with the price on anything here. Just, or if I'm not, I say, hey, this is off limits, but anything below this number, you tell me what you think we should drink, and that's what we drank. And I gotta tell you, I think it was one of the things that was a little shocking in Italy. I mean, obviously gas is crazy. It's like $9 a gallon.
Yeah, that's mad.
Eating in restaurants is much cheaper in Italy. Even eating in the regular restaurants and eating in the fancy poshy restaurants when we were in Rome. I was surprised how much lower that was. And then when we went to the coast, we were staying in a villa, so we went to buy groceries. Their groceries are easily 60% less than our groceries right now. I mean, it's crazy.
Got to be a trade-off somewhere.
Yeah, I don't. But yeah, I was stunned by how cheap the food was.
You ever make it out to Japan? You did the Wagashi. You ever, get your chance to eat your way through Tokyo, Osaka, anything like that?
What I want is the
Keelan will take you out on the town.
Yeah, right.
I want to come during the cherry blossoms, right? Which is when.
Yeah.
And the problem is, now that they moved the trade show earlier, that will never happen, because there's no way I could.
Yeah, you're right in the middle of it.
You're like literally what, 2 weeks before, 3 weeks before, 4 weeks before. So it's really it's like an impossible time. So I don't. Eventually we'll get there, but yeah, I don't see how it's going to happen as long as the company operates the way it currently operates. You'd have to become far less dependent on me.
Steve, I know how I feel about Ash, but I just got to show off.
Well, I don't dislike it. I just don't like the unreasonable expectations that everybody. Look at Instagram. Every cigar is perfect, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's a lot of chicken wire.
Yeah, I mean,
Got to be perfect.
And I see it in some of the user groups on Facebook. I'll read them, and you can always tell a group that's a more newbie group than an experienced group. The things that they just 1%. They're humidors, and my house is at 74 degrees, or my cigar is ruined. I mean, it's oh my God, because they're all first-time parents, right?
Yeah.
For sure.
You worry about a little bump or a little scrape. You got everything this, that way. So then you get to the third kid, that kid's feral. You can, right socket. He's got to learn. You know what I mean?
Right.
He'll do that
fact.
That'll be the end of that. So there's a big difference with your first baby, third baby scenario, right?
We had no idea in starting cigar channels and doing cigar media that we were going to become customer service for Humidor Company.
Man,
we had no idea.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If you asked me what I did not know starting this, it was that I was customer service for every humidor that's ever been created.
100%.
That is a question, a common question.
Too common.
What are some of your like myths of cigars that you just can't stand to hear these, either the reviewers or the people running the shows and channels, these Reddit groups and all that?
I mean, some of it, the whole ash color thing, like ash color matters. That's really crazy. I mean, because look,
you don't like white tight ash. You don't like that?
Look, and here's the thing: it depends on the tobacco. So I'm skipping over his dopamine joke. It's not like I missed it. I'm choosing to intentionally ignore it. Okay. So anyway,
I gotta do something, Steve.
But it's like, look, Connecticut shade, when it's properly fermented, I expect it to burn that way. Okay. There are certain low primings of even some Cuban seed that I expect to burn that way. I expect to see Indo burn that way. I don't expect other tobaccos to burn that way. So the ash is an indication of the combustion rate, but it's relative to the tobacco that's being burned. Some will always burn with a dark gray mottled ash, and it's perfect. It's the way that particular tobacco, that's the color you expect out of it. And then you'll get the other ones that are lily white. So you have to judge the ash based on the tobacco that the ash is. It's good ash or bad ash, but not compared to all the other colors of ashes, only within its own species. So, I mean, that's one thing. I kind of look, I'm so over people fucking around with their cutting of their cigars and all this crown cutting and jug head cutting and little viper tooth thing and thing that punches 5 holes in the end. It's like, it's just like literally, there's not a single cigar maker tobacco man on the planet that does anything but his teeth, thumb, or a knife, or a single blade cutter, a simple cutter, a guillotine cutter.
$5.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so the whole thing, the whole cutter debate, just is like, it's in another world for me. That one drives me crazy. The stems and cigars, because just an ongoing battle to educate consumers about how cigars are actually made, and you're just swimming uphill because there's tons of books that are written, saying the opposite, and magazine articles have been published, and so you're just basically just beating your head against the wall. But yeah, that's what we do, so we continue to do it. But that one kind of gets me. I think the other thing that really, one of the things that, like, when I scroll through the groups, and I scroll through quite a few, I'll get tagged. And then when I get tagged in something, I'll go there and add a smiley face or some bullshit thing. Acknowledge the tag. But then I'll spend, a couple, 3 minutes just scrolling through whatever group it's in and just kind of randomly reading comments. And I feel sorry for some people, man. They could get some much better cigars for the same money. The cigars that they think are good, they're just okay. And without even stepping up in dollar, they could get something, but nobody's ever going to point them in the right direction. I can't do it because that's just, it's just, look, it's kind of like what first rule of Fight Club, kind of like, don't talk ill of your competitors, right? Nothing good ever comes out of it. You just look like an asshole, right? And that's right. And you can't talk people out of liking what they like. So I feel that way when I look at that, but I can't say, hey, you ought to try this, right? But also, look, the retailers don't do it. There's so few actual tobacconists anymore that actually try to match the product to the person.
That's a great point.
gets to actually learn what they like to smoke, what new brand actually is worth putting in front of them. You know, there's just the whole concept of a curated tobacconist is such a dying breed. There's a few out there, but there aren't many of them, and which then just leaves you as a consumer up to the noise of the marketplace. And we're all going to say we make the best cigars, and we're all going to say our cigars are special. And in the end, they're all brown and round. So what the fuck? So I mean, how do you differentiate between these? And then you got the retailers, and so rare for a retailer to take an interest in your brand. Because look, as a retailer, you make the same profit on any brand. They're Legos. It doesn't matter. You don't care that the customer buys brand A or brand B or brand C or brand D. You just care that they came to your shop to buy brand A, B, C, or D. So very rarely does the retailer actually help you promote a product, right? And look, the catalog guys do, but the problem is the catalog guys promote the next product just the same way they promoted your product. And you basically get a book of whatever, 50 pages telling you how great everything is on every page, right? Doesn't actually like give you like usable information for you as a consumer to really discern the products, right? So I think that look, all ratings and all reviews, you know, they can give you some guide points, but you always have to look at what the inherent biases are in them because they exist for whatever reason. But in the end, it really comes down to you smoking the cigars. And
where do you think you have the most sway though, as a brand owner? Where do you have the most sway to kind of push where the market is going and the consumer is going?
Well, I think that's one of the reasons why I like to over talk. I try to communicate because I want people to try to understand what these cigars are before I ask them to buy them. You know, try to kind of pre-screen a little bit of customer, put them in with reasonable expectations. You know. But it can be tough, you know. I don't think I'm particularly good. I mean, everyone thinks I'm really good at the social media thing, but I'm actually not. I'm just very long-winded on Facebook, but I do very little. Yeah, but I'm only active where us old people are. I'm over there on Facebook, man. Come on.
This is true. You hop on YouTube every now and then. You're more active than I've seen any other smaller company.
Yeah,
actually communicating with people.
But I'm on YouTube because I get invited to be on YouTube. I don't start a YouTube channel. I mean, if I
never invited you to pop up in my YouTube comment section. You were just there.
Yeah, but man, because I peruse it. I look around.
100%. Yeah.
I'm curious.
That's what I'm saying,
right? So yeah, that's just the cigar geek in me shopping around. Because I'm look, there's things that, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, like Michael Herklotz is in the chat right now. There's not a lot of y'all that are actually interacting with what is the next generation of people. Because like as catalogs and word of mouth is eventually going to go away, it's social media that's going to influence the most people. It just is.
Word of mouth in a different way.
Yeah.
With social media.
And also you engage in a way too where it's like, hey, the Vintage Cigar did this great review on this. I really appreciate the fact that he took the time to do this. Master Your Ash took this cigar and paired it with this. I think this is an interesting and cool review. So you take the extra time that just requires that little extra engagement to showcase the fact that you appreciated that we took the time of day. And so few brands will even take that extra step without.
But I'm also sure that a lot of it's just random. There's a lot of stuff I miss because there's a lot of reviews on my cigars and there's a lot of things said and written that I just don't even see them anymore. You know,
yeah, but I
thought I saw everything. Now I just stumble upon stuff from 2 years ago. Wow, this is kind of cool. You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy.
And maybe that's just it. Maybe the backlog of cigar makers and blenders that, you know, are able to actually see how many reviews get published, because a lot of them have a lot of reviews that get published from multiple channels, right? They just don't see it as often.
Yeah, but you have to say most retailers are very disengaged from the business.
Sure.
I think that
crazy.
Look, I think in a country, look, they estimate that there's about 5,000 doors, okay, that sell cigars, roughly. It's more than that. That's really 5,000 what they consider a Class A store, but what we consider a Class A store and what they consider a Class A store is a little different. But talking about maybe head shop, tobacco shop, you know, a DTO. There's over 5,000 doors. Of those 5,000 doors at the trade show every year, maybe only 500 of them come. Right?
Yep.
I mean, so you already got like literally only 10%, 10% of the ownership even paying actively enough attention to at least come to a trade show. You get a certain group that hasn't engaged in the trade show yet, but they are active at least in social media, or at least reading things and participating. And, like you get a guy that's both ways. Jay Davis is very active in social media, and he's very active actually. He's on the board with the PCA. So I mean, you get these people that double dip, but it's tough. I mean, I've had too much to drink because I have no clue what I was talking about. None whatsoever.
What were you?
What you sip on today, man? Yeah, that's the thing. What were you sipping on, man?
I'm having tonight a midwinter night draft.
Ah, a little High West, huh?
Yeah, so it's there.
That is
you going straight out the bottom, man?
Dude, I love High West. High West is great.
Yeah, so it's treating me quite nice, and I'm not much of a rye guy. Normally, ryes are a little bit too hot for me, but I'm finding this one to be just fine.
Dude, that's not a low-proof rye either.
Yeah, High West is. My wife and I were introduced to that brand a year ago or so by a server. We were at a restaurant, and it was a cool whiskey kind of bar, and they did all kinds. They did their own in-house like infused whiskeys, but he was like, my wife likes rye a lot, and anyways, High West is a huge fan. It's a good one. They got
that very boring iteration on rye has made me remember. That's easy. But what do I think of you guys? I like it. I like it noisy. I like the democratization of information. I think the more people that are out there giving their opinion and their 2 cents, even when it doesn't work in my advantage, is still all the better for the industry. So I like it. I like the fact that, look, when, in the 90s, you basically had one media control the entire narrative for an entire industry.
Yeah.
Right? That's not what's in the best interest of consumers.
Yeah, facts.
Regardless of how good the publication is, and it's a good publication, but that's not in the best interest of consumers. And it certainly doesn't allow for a small company like me to even have a fighting chance of getting.
And you don't have to pay to play with us. You know what I mean? That's the other thing. It's no payola.
Yeah. But so for me, I like it. A lot of companies hate you fuckers. You're a pain in the ass.
For sure.
Who?
Never go. I'm not telling on them, but trust me. There's a lot of bitching about you media folk.
We know.
Okay, I'll shoot you an email later.
Yeah, it's an offline conversation.
We want emails.
What names?
We want.
Well, it'd be interesting to get feedback, even if it was negative, because a lot of the time it's like chucking stuff into the wind is what it feels like.
I mean, look at you. You have a certain style, right? It's a little bombastic. That is what your audience expects. Expects it to be a little bit rougher, a little bit more.
Bad apples.
Yeah, look, that's what it is. And when I watch vintage, I know I'm going to get kind of a chill vibe, and I feel like I don't ever feel like drinking cognac, but I watch his reviews. I don't know. Call me a racist. I feel like drinking cognac. I don't know why.
Get your Henny, man. I'm not mad at the Henny at all, man. Get your Henny.
So, so everybody had. Look, you got Bob Finley. Bob Finley, like, he's so sugary sweet, man. I don't know how anybody can be such a nice guy, but guess what? He actually is. The Bob Finley that's on camera that you just look at and you go, my God, where is this Mayberry guy coming from? right? That's who he genuinely is to his core. You hang out with him for a couple of days, like, fuck, that's not an act. He's just that happy on life. That's the way he chooses to live his life. And look, and you also know that Bob Finley, every time I pop up a cigar review, I know it's going to be good because Bob Finley doesn't do bad cigar reviews. Now, what he will say in his defense is, yeah, I could. Why talk about bad cigars when I can just talk about good cigars? If you don't see me reviewing it, and you don't see me talking about it, then there's probably a reason why I decided not to make that cigar that I'm going to feature. You know what I mean? So I mean, look. So it's a bit of a mixed bag. Everybody has a Coop and Aaron, developing palates. They like to get really hardcore into the business weeds. You get.
They also don't get too excited over anything, really.
Or you get the Cigar Dojo guys. They're always trying to come up with some goofy, fucking nonsensical thing that I gotta watch. That's fun. You know what I mean? And so I mean, look, you got KMA Radio versus the Cigar Authority. They each have their own thing, their own style, the way they do it, how they choose to talk about brands. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I mean, yeah, I like it. The more the merrier.
What's up with the new Sin Compromiso in the Robusto, man? How you feeling about that? And
I love that cigar. That turned out a lot nicer than it should have. Yeah.
Yeah,
it turned out good. That one turned out so good. It's got me actually rethinking a little bit.
Rethinking what?
Rethinking maybe I could make the other ones as good as the Robusto.
Oh shit! Another tweak. Another tweak. We're gonna get a new.
It's scary because all the other ones sell really, really well, right? So you don't. That's the one thing you owe that person that buys that box of Sin number 5s. I may think I'm making it better when in reality he loved it the way it was. That's why he's buying another box of Sin 5. So I really can't do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I got to leave it what it is. But there is actually one that I did fix. It wasn't Sin Compromiso. It was Intrepido. I was really disappointed in the way Intrepido when we released it. It turned out. I mean, it tasted good. It tasted good, but once it was in the box for like 6 months, I was like, this one isn't really that good. Kind of feel bad asking a guy to spend $15 for this cigar. It's not a bad cigar, but it's not a $15 cigar. So
you're gonna tweak the number 7 too?
Yeah, the 701. It sells so well. Just
my buddy Eddie's favorite out here, number 7.
Yeah, I mean, no, there's a lot of folks that they're their favorites, but the Robusto I think is just that little extra bit more. I think
I'm hype about that one.
I like the Robusto a lot, which is bad because I shouldn't be this way because I should be. Oh, who knows? It might fail. Yeah.
What are your other babies though? What are your other babies that you love out of your whole portfolio that you like?
Okay. Papa Saka, Tricky Traka, number 648. I really love Naka Tamale. It's still my favorite of all the Western releases, by far. I really like the Brûlé Blue a lot. That blend really worked for me. It's really helped me along. Regular Sin Compromiso. I like the Churchill and Cedar. I think the Cedar Churchill is the good one of that particular brand. Red Meat Lovers, I like the filet, which is weird because I should like the beef stick more, but I like the Robusto, which is really weird because what this means is it means in 2 recent brands, I've been really liking the Robusto, and I don't like Robustos typically. It's not a size I normally smoke.
Do you feel as though this most recent release of Red Meat Lovers is doing better than the one from a couple of years back?
Oh God, yeah, you're selling it now to what?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody.
I don't even know how many stores. It's got to be at least in 200 stores. I don't know. That's a question for Cindy and Lafferty. I don't know the answer to that. What I do know is I'm like 8,000 boxes behind on it.
Wow.
Yeah, it's terrible. So yeah,
one of them good problems.
I mean, look, we're making it constantly. It's coming in every container. It's just the back orders, just they're stacking up on it. So there's always more red meat lovers being sent out to stores on a monthly basis, almost continually. You know what I mean? But we don't have enough to send what they want. And so that means you're hurting sales, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah,
when you're testing and you're doing your test blends and all that, when you're just kind of working on blends, whatever's coming next, who are you smoking with? Who do you trust that's in your in group friends or whatever that you like you smoke with? That's like, okay, I can trust their palate and their opinion on these cigars. Or is it just you?
Absolutely no one. It's one of the things
Just you.
Yeah, it's one of the things that's actually really weird about our company. I'm it. Nobody gets a say. Nobody gets an opinion. Nobody, I don't give a fuck. Look, you make a cigar. I make a blend. There's 6 of us here. We each smoke it. One guy's gonna say it's too mild, and the other guy's gonna say it's too strong.
Sure.
Fair.
It's just the way it is, man. So I actually think that's what hurts these companies. I think that they try to solicit other people's opinions, try to distill it into one product. But when you make a cigar that's good, you're not making a cigar that's great. You're not making something that someone's going to love. And for something to be something that someone's going to love, it needs to have a point of view. It needs to have a perspective. It needs to have a reason, you know? So, and you don't get that kind of cigars when you are getting the opinions of multiple people adding whatever they think is appropriate to the stew.
Too many
It's
chefs.
watered down.
Right. So everything we do is because I really think it's really good. Okay. And what I'm hoping that there's enough people out there whose palates are similar enough to my palate that they will also see why I think these are really good. But also understanding that there are going to be some people that are just never going to like your brand. They're not like your brand, but they're just not going to like your cigars. I mean, it's just the way it is. That's the reason why there are hundreds of brands on the shelves, right? This is always, but yeah, no, nothing gets shared. Lafferty, Cindy, they all get to smoke. Look, they might get to smoke
Shouts
something.
out to Lafferty though, man. That's a cool cat, man. Shouts out to Lafferty.
You know, they'll get to smoke something. It might still have a factory sample band on it, but that blend's done. And then, but the upside too is when something doesn't sell well, you can't blame it on I listened to Todd who told me to make it mild, right?
True.
So you don't have any excuses when something fails because it fails because you did a bad job. You know, like I can tell you right now, I don't know that Frog Juice as a blend could be a national release. It's a little esoteric. It's a little in the middle. It's a little like I love the new 4x48, 6x48, but it's still not a blend that I think caters to a particular consumer. It's one that's meant much more for someone that's a very experienced smoker that has had a lot of different experiences. But I don't think that something like Frog Juice would do well commercially.
Because I appreciate that cigar because it's so unique. And does that have mass appeal?
I'm not done yet.
No.
Yeah.
You know,
it doesn't.
Do the stores get any type of a say when you blend for them? Or is it just take it or you leave it?
You take it or you leave it.
Interesting.
Again, for me, it doesn't matter because I'll just take it to another store.
Right.
And what store is going to say no to 300 to 500 boxes sold in a 24-hour period of anything? You have to be a fucking moron to say no to that. So it's just guaranteed money for the store. Now, eventually, one of these things is going to stumble and it's going to be a total clusterfuck, and then we'll all be talking about the death of Saka. But until that moment happens, it's right now just basically been kind of free money. I'm actually surprised at how dense these release schedules are. They're ridiculous. I mean, most companies would be lucky to get one drop like this a year sell. I'm getting like 8 of them a year to sell right now. It's insane. I mean, I worry about that every time. Like, okay, just did Frog Juice. We're like 2 weeks away probably from me shipping small batch of Barbara Maria. I mean, you had all the Don Dharma, you had the Frog Juice, You had the new bronze Bacco in the marketplace. You got Sin 4 rolling out now. It doesn't affect the same consumers, but the Airmac number 22 rolled out too, and it's selling to its customer base. Man, I'm like stepping on my own message constantly, right? It's like it's so much. It's really a crazy amount. I mean, and I have to have every one of them be a winner. Because when it isn't a winner, you'll get a bit of loyalty that'll carry through probably 2 or 3 purchases later. But eventually, when that company's limiteds aren't very good, just totally kills the company, kills the brand, right? Because basically what's happened is you've taken your biggest patrons, the ones that are the most loyal to you, right? They're the ones that are buying things on blind faith. I've never smoked a frog juice. I have no idea what it is. He's not getting that cigar for $8. He paid like fucking $16 or some nonsense for those cigars, right? So that's like real money. He's saying, hey, I'm going to spend $160 plus whatever the guy charged him for shipping. Okay, and I don't even know what the price was, but it had to be at least that. He may have even made it over 17. But you owe it to the customer that's buying on blind faith and spending real money that there be something worthy in the box. Can't promise you like it, right? Because you're trying to make unique different blends, which take you further astray from your cores, like Mi Querida and like Brulee and like Sin Compromiso, because you want the experience to be different. But you're going to blends that aren't as mainstream in a lot of these releases that I don't know that they would do well if commercially released in full scale. Now, Red Meat Lovers, yes. Red Meat Lovers was a blend that can make that transition. But I don't know that. Look, I'm stunned by the success of Don Derma.
What? Oh, that's
an amazing cigar.
That's a fantastic.
That's an amazing fucking cigar.
And what's funny is that you also clarified it for everybody.
The way I feel about Don Derma is I feel like it's so boring if you don't retrohale it. You really, it's like you have to.
You made that message clear though, too.
Yeah. You put it on the
same
box.
way that you were saying that the messaging might have been lost earlier in the stream.
I think the messaging has been excellent, and part of that's because of Ronnie. Ronnie doesn't ever shut up, right? If there's anyone to talk more than me, it's Ronnie. Okay, and Ronnie has done a great job educating the consumers that buy the product. But I can tell you, without that educated lift, that would be a product that would just die. I do not think that product, without the educational aspect and beating it into the heads of consumers, I think if Don Derma was just put on a shelf and somebody pulled one out of the box and it was a $16, $17 cigar and they just smoked it regular and never retrohaled it, I think they go, that was good. It was okay. It was
way, bro.
But it wasn't $17, man.
I still feel as though there would have been enough like in the experience that even if they didn't actively retrohale, they still would taste enough in that blend because that's
one of the best, man.
That's an amazing stick, man.
You get a shit ton out of the retro though.
I personally love
out of the retro.
I love the Golden Child more. Ronnie doesn't like the Golden Child as much.
Even though it's after his kid. He's like, nah.
I like that blend a lot more. It's a lot more lively. I find that one a lot more for me.
That makes us understand your palate a bit more, though, because like we've been going back and forth for the past few months about the Don Derma or the Golden Child, and it took a couple of us a few repetitions to get into the Golden Child because everybody loved the Don Derma.
Yeah, Golden Child has got the only thing that's the same as it says Don Derma on it, but there's there's nothing about those two blends that are related in any way whatsoever.
Right.
I'm going to go back to my notes. There might be like one shared common tobacco in there, but yeah.
What about a cigar makes it more present on the retrohale than just smoking it normally without retrohaling it? I mean, is that something y'all just kind of happened upon when you blended it, or is there something?
Look, you're choosing tobaccos that are going to work well. Look, retrohaling is something that we do, but it's actually not something that's a primary concern when making cigars for consumers because 99% of people never retrohale.
Right.
So if you're making it for the retrohale people, you're catering to such a small market to begin with. Mm-hmm. Now, I think that really good tobaccos, when blended properly, should make a pleasant retrohale. So I focus on retrohaling because I think it actually makes the cigar better, even if the person's not going to retrohale. That by choosing tobaccos that do retrohale well, I am ultimately creating a cigar that will taste better to the consumer who doesn't retrohale.
Overall,
yeah, but I mean, for a lot of people, nah, it's a second.
But is there a certain kind of leaf that you're using that like targets the nose better or more versus? I mean,
yeah, there are certain things, but more of it's about just the quality of how they were fermented and worked.
Okay.
I mean, what you're really looking for is you're looking for a way to take the brutal sting out of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you retrohale some cigars and it feels like you're just snorting cocaine, right? And
yes,
right.
Golden Child,
right?
Fucking Golden Child.
Yeah, Golden Child. Like a real man, not retrohaling every fucking buck like Don Durham. But I mean, it's. I just think it's. I think it's something that most companies don't even make brands because of cigars. They're making brands because they see a certain market demographic and a person that they identify that they can advertise to at this price point, and this is the reason why the product is created. I mean, and part of it's also you as consumers' fault. Brands are just disposable. You somehow decide that you'd rather smoke hundreds of subpar cigars, okay, just because they're new, and that's what you do. But guess what? I got something to tell you. Eventually, you're going to get older, and you're going to get in your experience where you pretty much probably lock yourself into 3-4 cigars. You probably have like 2 companies that you really like their product, and if it doesn't come from them, you probably aren't going to pay much attention to it. We all kind of get to a point in our lives where we get tired of testing and kissing all the girls, and we figure out who we're going to marry. And that's what happens. And that's why a brand becomes a Fuente. Consumers married it. And that's why a brand becomes Padron. There's a group of Padron buyers that it doesn't matter how much it costs. Doesn't matter if it's the best tasting. For them, Padron is it. And Padron owns those people. They should be. And you see that the same with Leva smokers, right?
Did you buy the $7,000 box of the Legacy?
I didn't. But it wasn't offered to me because I'm not a good cigar buyer anymore. So yeah, those are just such. It's an interesting
piece, man. You can say it here. We're among friends, yo. You can say your piece here.
Circle of trust, kind of. I mean, there's still a group chat.
The only thing I wish, and I think they wish this too. I wish we didn't have to get 3 years of beating the drum about it before it happened, right?
Yeah,
that was just a little much.
It was a lot,
right?
Yeah.
I mean,
it was a lot.
I would have been okay with a year of drum beating and then another 4 months because they're late. I could have been okay on board with that, but the 3 years, it got to be a bit much, right?
But if we didn't have those 3 years, we wouldn't have gotten the troll job of my father and Tatuaje doing everything. So
Right.
Thankful for the troll job.
Yeah, it was such a troll job.
It was great.
Yeah. But see, that's just such a geek insider thing. Nobody else looks at that. They just like, oh wow, we got a cool new cigar from a company I really love, my father.
Yeah, Tat.
Here we go. So
but all of us were winking and nodding, like, yeah,
that was lost on almost everybody except all of us real inside baseball kind of people. But yeah, absolute troll job, no doubt about it.
Oh yeah, I laughed the first time I saw that. I just started laughing like that. That was actually, I mean, smart play. More power to him. But
did anybody review that?
Matt did.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I haven't seen a review on that one. Was it
It
good?
didn't go so well, Matt.
No.
Not my favorite.
No,
I have one, so I haven't tried it yet.
Sorry to hear that.
It is what it is, man. But they got their point across.
Yeah, and charge $60 a stick too. But still, that's like less than half the price of the friggin' Padron Fuente one.
I want to know how many of like their loyal customers were like, "Why is this $60? It's not a monster. It's not a like what are we doing here?" Like,
wait a minute, monsters aren't $60, are they?
No, 13.
No.
But out here in Vegas, though,
at least there wasn't a monster. Like, wait, did monsters get to be $60 cigars somewhere?
No. The MSRP has never changed, but what some shops are willing to charge for it has significantly over the years. Yeah. So you get the strip tax, as we like to call it.
Okay, strip tax.
The strip tax.
All right.
Yeah. Nothing special.
A lot of unions are mid. Yeah, probably. Yeah.
I don't know. I think as I get older, I just get more and more jaded. Very rare I get impressed by anything anymore.
What was the last thing that did impress you? Something had to it got to be something every now and then that kind of makes.
Yeah, I remember one. It was but this shows you how long ago it was. I was in the factory, and I was looking at them make nubs, and I was just like, man, this is fucking genius. Make a cigar once, and I sell it twice. I mean, it's like once and I sell it twice. I'm like, how come this idea never crossed my brain? Because it's just so simple, so stupid, right?
If it works.
Yeah, but yeah. Like, I'm always impressed. Look, I like good design. I mean, look, I have a certain design aesthetic that kind of flows through my products, and it's pretty simple, right? And a lot of its simplicity is because I don't have a graphic designer. So I'm the one having to come up with these simple things. And but that also kind of leans the way I lean. I don't ever see myself becoming a black label kind of customer based on the branding of it. Not based on the cigar, based on the branding. But at the same time, it's really good artwork. So even though it doesn't necessarily speak to me as a consumer, I appreciate it. I like that it has its own character, it has its own style, it has its own place, it's got its own sense. You know what I mean? I like that a lot better than when I see, these people come out with, brands that are just so like throwaway, like just no. And I think it's going to get worse now because AI has gotten pretty good. But I think there's a brand already being released that's got an AI generated thing. I don't want to call it
Romas.
But I mean, I saw it like, this just looks like AI. I spent 3 hours on AI banging in all these different prompts until I finally got something like, hey, there you go.
That works. Yeah.
What
are you most proud of out of because Sin Compromiso is really dope, but what are you most proud of out of like the bands, to Dos Las Diaz, anything that just kind of stands out?
Sober Mesa is really dope.
Yeah.
Sober Mesa. Look, I can't take credit for the art. That was off an old brand from the turn of the century called La Lunda. That was their Vista design. And they were only inspired. I stole it straight off. Okay, 100%. No,
Drake.
Yes. So they were only in business from 1915 to 1917. But I just thought it was such a gorgeous classical piece of cigar art, right? And look, nobody makes stuff like that anymore. It's too expensive. It's just cost prohibitive. It's still cost prohibitive. I mean, like to get the plates engraved, they were like 34,000 euros to get those plates done manually by hand by a master engraver to do it the old school way that it would have been. Because we tried doing it with CAD and CNC, but it just didn't have the same life. It didn't have the same texture, the same round, the same. And these are such uber geeky, crazy things. But I poured a lot of money into that packaging because I just wanted to create something like that, bring something like that back because nobody does it anymore.
It paid off though when you think about it though, because people love the way that it looks. They love holding it, smoking it.
When I look at a brand like Sober Mesa, we're going back to that statement I made earlier about not wanting to put up a barrier to a consumer. And I understand that ultimately a brand like Brûlée, it's good that, our circle of cigar enthusiasts like it as a mild cigar. That's great. But really, the win is when you get the guy that's smoking Romeo and Julietas or smoking Underground Shade or smoking whatever, an Ashton Classic. I mean, that's who, and I think that the name Sobremesa, I think the way the package looks, I think the way the cigar looks, everything about it is not a barrier of entry to that consumer to reach in the box and give it a chance against what they're currently smoking. The one thing that is a little bit of a problem for me with the general consumer is how dense our cigars are. Our cigars are very well packed. They're packed better than almost anybody else's cigars in the marketplace. So one of the reasons why
too packed.
Yeah, but they're not too packed, right? Don't want them tight. But I like a certain level of resistance when I smoke a cigar. Padrones, they're too open for me. Love the blend, but I smoke through it like a chimney, right? I light up a Padron Toro, 30 minutes later, it's disappeared. I enjoyed my 30 minutes. The experience was great. I understand why people smoke them, but it's just too quick for me, right? So I like cigars that are really firmly packed, bunched a certain way. And what ends up happening is when the consumer who's not familiar with our brand just picks one up out of a box, target, I think it gives them a little bit of a trepidation to buying the cigar because our cigars feel like they shouldn't draw.
What they do.
When you give them the squeeze, they feel like they shouldn't draw.
What is the quality control like anyway on the DuMbarton side? Like because it sounds like you put a lot of thought into that, and it's very rare that you ever get a DuMbarton that doesn't draw, that's plugged or smoke spark and all that kind of stuff. It happens, of course, but all in all, it's not the norm.
Because I'm making a smaller production, we're able to be more selective about the labor, so you're getting better quality labor. We don't pay them by piece. Normally, the way you pay Boncheros and Roleras is by the piece that passes quality control. We actually pay them a fixed wage to work every day, rolling me Queridas, and that's very unusual. And so, because we want them to focus a little bit more on the quality and not the quantity, doesn't mean that we want to slow them down. I mean, we have some pairs that can bang out 380, 390 a day, and they're beautiful. We have other pairs, they run about 240, 255, but they're making a good 240, 255. And then we have dedicated people that watch for all the products that we're making. That so like at Noxa, it's Boris. Boris is on my payroll. He isn't on Noxa's payroll. Boris is there and every day, all the time. This is what he does. He does all the quality control of the table. He checks the ligas to make sure they're coming out of the card room correctly. He's really the cigar maker when you really get down to it in that particular fact. And then, you tighten up the gram scale. You're looking at that 50 wheel, plus or minus 50 grams is not acceptable to me. I want to see it much tighter number. I want to see it down to 15, and you got to just tear those half wheels apart that don't hit the 15 and figure out why they're 15, where normally the number would be 50. It's a very common number. It gives between 50 cigars, 50 grams of play can be a lot because it can mean some cigars are 4 grams heavy. You know what I mean? And, and they get lost when you have that big a span. So, tightening up the QC numbers. But in the end, 3% of cigars, no matter what we do, are going to be fucked up. No matter what you do. There's just 3% are going to burn wrong. 3% are going to draw the way you want them to draw. 3% of them are going to split on you. And I mean, it's just the way it is. It's the nature of the beast. There's no way to take an inherently product that is just, it's just not a manufactured product.
Right.
I mean, it's just always going to be this way. Now, the bad part for the consumer is a lot of times these things run in streaks. So you get a consumer, he smoked 300 of your cigars from a whole bunch of boxes, and he's rarely had maybe one or two, didn't like cigar maybe, but like bad cigar experiences, like unsmokable, got to throw in the ashtray. And we have this all the time.
Yeah.
But then, so he has a certain perspective on the quality of the brand. Now, if you're a guy that you tried a few samplers from wherever, Cigars Daily, and you find like, I'm going to take the plunge. I'm going to buy a box of Tricky Tracas because that was the one I liked the best. And he gets a whole box that's tight. It sucks, right? Because that's the way, sadly, it goes. And when you know that 3% are bad, they tend to run in streaks of bad. You know? But I think
we had a viewer that was talking about Todos Las Diaz. We were all going off about how good that cigar is, especially like the thick Lonsdale. And he was like, "Man, I got 3 of them that were, tight." I'm like, "Dude, I've only had that once, So it happens. Like you said, it goes in streaks sometimes."
Yeah. Now the thing is, for the guy that got 3 TLDs that were unbroken, he should reach out to us and let us know, and we will send him 3 replacement cigars. And look, we do that on good faith. Because I mean, look, most companies don't do that kind of customer service because they just assume you're all cheap, mooching bastards. They'll just take advantage of it unfairly. And guess what? Some of you are. Okay. But why are you going to punish the 98% of the public that's honest for the 2%ers? And that 1 out of 50 guy that's just an asshole. Guess what? After the 3rd customer service complaint, him getting his cigars, we say, "Hey, Bob, do us a favor. Don't buy our cigars anymore because you obviously don't like them. There's something really wrong with them." You know what I mean?
For sure.
So we're not going to warranty any more of your future purchases. And guess what? I've never had a guy get all up in arms about it because they all were doing the whole scheme thing, taking advantage of how generous we were with our customer service.
Yeah.
But you also know that as a seasoned cigar smoker, you're also not going to take the time to write the company that part of smoking handmade cigars is accepting a certain quantity of them that aren't going to burn right. They're not going to draw right. It is part of the way it works with handmade cigars. There's nothing that we can do, and there's nothing that you can do, and it's just got to be accepted. And what we as consumers realize is we realize what's an acceptable rate. And when we get that whole bad box from one of our favorite makers, we know that we've bought hundreds and hundreds of these cigars. We reach out and say, "Hey, I got a bum box," and we gladly replace it. But we also know that most of our consumers are not going to go out of their way to get their 1 free cigar because they know that they have smoked plenty that have been fantastic, and then eventually it just happens and it's just part of the game. So we, to this point, we've never gotten abused on the policy. Now, maybe as we become a more mainstream company and we have more mainstream consumers, maybe we won't be able to be that way anymore. I don't know.
I think your consumer base is going off of integrity, though. Just personal experience. I've only
but not
gone
but
to
that's a certain window. I mean, the vast majority, they're never gonna know who Steve Saka is. They're not gonna give a fuck about who Steve Saka is. They're just going to know, hey, I reach into this box and I'm happy with the cigar. I mean, most consumers have no clue who makes the products they enjoy.
I got some people in the chat mentioning the fact I'm smoking a Lancero. So yes, it is the Now Leave Me the Hell Alone. So I'm not a Lancero guy, but
your money, do what you want with it.
Well, I have a missing tooth, so it fits,
It could go right in there. There you go.
Yeah, in the gap, almost there.
You gotta melt in that Wagashi coin, and that's your new tooth, man.
Yeah, I actually do have a gold cap right now, so it's the final.
Really?
One. Yeah. Well,
you come over to the urban side. We'll get you a bandana.
Yeah, I'll fit in real well with that. Yeah, I'm 3 months away from not looking like a dumbass anymore. So we're almost there.
All right.
Getting there, brother. We're getting there, brother.
Yeah.
What you think about that?
What's up?
You think the tooth is going to do that?
Yeah. No, maybe not smoking a Lancero will do that. Yeah. We'll see.
I'm gonna lose the ability to use that gap tooth in the thumbnails from now on.
I know. That's okay. But we keep it going.
I think as far as Lanceros go, I think that's one of the best ones. Lancero. I mean, but in the end, it's a Lancero.
Yeah.
I mean, and the truth was, I had to discontinue one of the Muestras, but they all sell about the same. The most recent release one sells the most. the previous year's release sells half as much as the New Year's release, and all the others sell a quarter of whatever the New Year's release, if a fifth, and they all sell about equally. And they just so when it came time to call the herd, I was like, okay, I like the least. It's the Lancero. Plus, I also kind of had in the back of my head a crazy way to milk a bunch of my other Lancero people by doing the go fuck yourself Lancero. So, so killing the one to then take coin away from all the Lancero junkies, it just made a lot of sense to me. It's kind of like
how did that new release do when you did the whole box full of Lanceros? How did that do?
The sampler.
Yeah, we sold retailers ordered for I don't know, 7,000 things. It's crazy.
Oh, crazy. Yeah, damn.
I don't get Lanceros. It's not for me. This is good, but yeah, it's not my favorite Vitola.
Not a fan.
We got any questions in the comments going? Or anybody throw up anything?
Peter had one earlier. He was wondering if we could ever get a Micarita Black in Salomon. That was a while back, but
And a red meat lovers and pig.
So probably there will be a Micarita Black in some sort of perfecto-oriented shape.
Nice.
I right now am waiting some new molds to come in. I have a selection of custom Figurado molds. So once I get those, I can start playing on that. But I think eventually I can see something like that. So, the thing with Micarita Black is I don't want to duplicate any of the sizes that are in the other Micaritas. So
Salomon it is.
I know the Micarita Black Toro is delicious, but it just seems like I'd like to keep them unique sizes if I could. So some sort of perfecto shape, whether it be a Salomon or not, makes sense.
What made you decide to do the double perfecto with the unicorns that everybody's copying now?
Yeah, I just want to create that cigar that looked like the one Baby Huey smoked in Jessica Rabbit.
Yeah.
It was just
That's why I loved it. That's why I love to do it.
Like a cartoon cigar, right? They used to see in the cartoons, man.
Yeah, dude.
That guy with the top hat, the landlord who was trying to evict you, be smoking that same shape, man.
The Bugs Bunny cat too. Was it? Yeah, man. See, that was my cat. That's what made me want to start smoking cigars. I can't front. That was the shit that made me want to do it. That and the little indigenous guy was holding the double perfectos. So I'm glad you did that, man. I hate it's $100, but I'm glad you did it.
You know what's funny? That cigar should actually be $127 right now.
Relax, Steve. Come on, man. Chill, man. Wow.
It's the only one that I've never done a price increase on.
All right, 100. Do you really need to go over $100? Like, come on, Steve.
So here's the funny part about it, because you sell so few of them. In the end, it doesn't make money. So I was kind of so what I was thinking was, because look, you sell 4,000 unicorns. They're the same 40% margin. So basically, for me to sell a unicorn for $50, it ends up being cost me like 46 or something. 46, 44. I don't have a calculator in front of me. But whatever it is, it's 40% less. That's where the price comes from. Give or take quarters one way of $1, quarters of another way of $1 on something that expensive. That ends up coming up with that's why it ends up being a retail. So what's happened is as the costs have gone up, there's really at this point almost no margin on unicorn sales. None. It doesn't. There's no profit.
Yeah.
But it sounds so much cooler that I smoked a $100 cigar than I smoked a $127 cigar.
Yeah.
$100 go all the way too.
$100 actually sounds like you spent more than 127. It's the weirdest thing. There's something cool about the $100 mark. And because it's never going to be a profit center for the company, because we haven't even been selling unicorns. All the unicorns that have been going out in the marketplace have been because retailers have been buying our other stuff, and they're getting the unicorns as the thank you gift, right? Because we don't do discounts, but if you spend so much, we give you these unicorns. And So we're really making zero money on unicorns. Unicorns are essentially any profit that was there has been 100% given away because we just simply give all the unicorns away. And so, yeah, I just like leaving it at the $100. And so as long as it can stay there, that's where I'm going to leave it because it just
leave it right there.
It just feels because the whole unicorn thing's stupid to begin with, right? I mean, it's a good cigar, but it doesn't. I mean, it's not $100. I mean, nothing is, But I think the unicorn, it's a really good cigar. I think it's special. It's unique enough when you look at how few are actually made, and the blend is really solid. And in the new packaging, the way it is now, it looks like $100 cigar. And look, I've never been shy about this. I think most people smoke unicorns to mark some sort of special occasion.
Yeah.
Some sort of memory.
Yeah.
That's why they smoke a unicorn. It's nothing to do with just the cigar. It's the same reason why you take a pour from that crazy $500 bottle of scotch that you bought way back when and you've been slowly sipping on now for the last 15 years, right? Hey, it's Christmas Eve. I'm gonna take a hit out of the special bottle.
100%.
Yeah, and I think that's what the unicorn does. It serves for that purpose. It's something that, yeah, it's really expensive, but it's not unattainable.
Mm-hmm.
He makes enough of them that you don't have to buy them secondary as long as you're willing to be patient. There's enough in the marketplace, but we also don't really market them and say, hey, you should buy unicorns because it's the most amazing cigar on the planet, because ultimately unicorns don't make me money. And B, I don't want to tell you that because I think I would much rather smoke a Papa Saka than smoke a unicorn. But I smoke a Papa Saka once or twice a day. Is that the cigar I want to celebrate New Year's Eve with?
True.
Is that the cigar I want to open that bottle of wine when my wife and I are going to celebrate our 40th anniversary?
Ron Mexico.
Yeah. So that's the next question, though. What do you celebrate with? What does Steve Saka feels like is a celebratory cigar, though? Is it just the unicorn?
No, unicorn, Paladin de Sakas. I don't smoke a lot of Paladin de Sakas. I love the blend, but look, it's a 7-inch cigar, so it's a long cigar,
So is that Saka Khan?
Yeah, Saka Khan. Yeah, Saka Khans though are so easy. Look, when I smoke a Paladin, I feel like I got to focus a little bit on it to give it its due. Sin Compromiso is a little bit more nuanced blend. And I don't like to smoke Sin Compromisos just kind of off the cuff. I think I lose a lot of the value in a Sin Compromiso. Sin Compromiso for me is a cigar that I want to kind of like sit and focus a little on. Whereas a Mike Reed, I can just jam one of those in my face and just have it going all 24/7 and not really care.
Yes,
chew on it, lay it down, relight it 32 times if I have to, So I mean, look, I love Mike Reed. Don't get me wrong. But it's not a sophisticated blend. It's not.
How about the Davidoff Oro?
I thought it was okay. I mean,
it's a Davidoff.
I mean, it was a good cigar. I found it a little boring to smoke personally, but then I'm not the Davidoff customer. I said that to you guys earlier, right? I was, and I kind of became not. So I think I'm the worst guy in the world to say, what do I think of the Davidoff Oro on a flavor strength level, right? Because I'm already admittedly not their guy. And if you're going to make a Davidoff Oro, you would hope it's for the guy that he absolutely loves Davidoff white labels. And this is a cigar that he's going to really, feel impressed with. So I think it's a different customer base. I mean, look, you can understand when companies make these products, they don't think you guys are going to buy them. I mean, that's not true. They think you're going to buy them, but you're making them in quantities that make a difference. They're just halos. That's what they are. There's something to call attention to your brand, something to be there that's extra, extra special for the people that love your brand, and they want to have a cigar to pick out when it comes time for, hey, I just whatever. I'm going to smoke that Davida Puro d'Oro because I finally got named executive vice president of whatever company, right? That's what it's there for. They're not going to. They know they're not selling thousands of Puro d'Oros a year. It's not a business model. Like those little boxes, those things come in. I wouldn't be surprised if they spent $125 to make that little box. It's gorgeous. I mean, it's a piece of art. I mean, that thing is that's some real fine woodworking going on there. And it's not like the type of thing you send to China and mass produce because how many Puro d'Oros are you going to sell? It's something that ends up having to be handcrafted like that. So, but I mean, it goes back to the thing I was talking about earlier. If the customer, as he's inviting it, feels that it was worth the money, then I think that's the bar to clear. Is the customer happy? Does the customer feel like, yeah, you know what? I'm glad I spent $100 on a unicorn. It was right to mark this moment with, you know?
Peter had a good question. He's asking, would you ever do a Cameroon wrapped cigar?
Oh, I remember to ask that earlier. Great question.
Yeah, pretty unlikely, and I'll tell you why. It has a lot to do with the way Cameroon wrapper is grown and then sold in the marketplace. There's no grand commercial growers of Cameroon that I'm aware of. It's primarily done by a lot of small independent farmers. And then what the Mirafelds do is they basically buy from those hundreds of different farmers, and then they take that to go, and then they put it in lots, and then they put those lots up for offer. But look, Arturo Fuente is number one. Okay. Leon Jimenez, not because of quantity, but just because of duration, is number two. And then Altadis comes to pick as number three, which is a behemoth. So what that ultimately means is that you're never going to have an opportunity to get the best because you have three players ahead of you who have earned the right to be ahead of you. They've been supporting this company and these crops for decades, right? So it's not like it's unfair, just what it is. But if you happen to have an amazing Cameroon crop year and some decent stuff falls below buyer number three and ends up in the open market, you can get some good Cameroon. But normally what you get is really shitty Cameroon that's so small you can barely make any cigars of any sort of reasonable length with them. So for me, it's not the type of wrapper I'd like to get into. Now, is it the type of wrapper that if I got a couple really choice bales, I can make a Cameroon blend for one of these like exclusive drops? Yeah. But at the same time, because I know I can't get Cameroon all the time consistently, I don't look at Cameroon. So the chance of me getting those two cherry bales are pretty fucking remote because I'm not engaging in looking at the tobacco because I know that it's just a road to nowhere for a company like ours.
Anything you plan on playing around with, like, you know, Pennsylvania broadleaf or Costa Rican, Zimbabwean, anything like that?
Yeah, but here's the thing, too, is you can only work with so many materials. So I'm going to start adding Sumatran to the portfolio.
Nice. Okay.
Cool.
Sumatran. But I also have to think in terms of how many projects can I use this on? What brands can it go into? Because I'm going to be obligated to buy a certain amount to get the quality I want. So I have to look at it in terms of not that, oh, let me make one good Sumatran cigar, but how am I going to use Sumatran in a much bigger way to eventually justify it? So I have to make real cash decisions about where am I going to allocate my resources.
Right.
And look, I've been so Connecticut broadleaf heavy for so long. I mean, it's actually stunning how many Connecticut broadleaf cigars we make.
Do you feel like you changed the game a little bit? You feel like you changed the industry with the way you utilize broadleaf, especially with the, you know, Saka Khan and?
No, I think that change happened with Liga because before Liga Privada, broadleaf was only used on really cheap cigars because they didn't think that the high end. You got to remember, mild Dominicans were the king, right? They were the standard. Cuban cigars are mild cigars. So the cigars that were getting Connecticut broadleaf put on, they were just inherently stronger, rougher cigars. So Connecticut broadleaf was never put on a gentleman's cigar, right? You got a little bit of it in Hoya de Monterey and Punch, right? But they never were able to brand it at that time. at a higher price point. So what Liga Privada did is it basically said, okay, we're gonna just love Connecticut broadleaf. Let's make the absolute best cigar we can with all the absolute best quality control and all the absolute thises and that's, and do it in a wrapper that normally wouldn't be on a cigar that costs more than $5. So I think that was where the transition happened when other manufacturers realized that, wait a minute, you can actually make a top-end premium cigar on with broadleaf, because broadleaf is the most expensive wrapper to use. I mean, broadleaf costs, actual true out-of-pocket cost, broadleaf costs 3 to 4 times more than any other tobacco. Yeah, I mean, there's one exception. There's a crazy Brazilian tobacco that the mass market guys use, Indo, grown in Brazil, but that doesn't count. None of the machine made, none of the handmade guys do. And of course, it costs more, but they're cutting into such little tiny strips that we need a whole leaf to make pieces off it. They're like literally making like 30 of their little cigarillos with one leaf. So.
We had a question in the comments. Yeah, what's the longest amount of time you spent on one blend, like from idea to being packed up?
3.5 years.
What was that?
The shortest? An afternoon.
Damn. Which one was the longest?
Yeah, look, it went longer, but the blend was actually done in the first half day.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Damn.
And then I basically dicked around for another 3 months to decide what I did on day one was actually the best, just to stop trying to fucking disprove the equation. The longest was Krakatoa. Krakatoa took a long time. And I'm still.
Do you feel like that got a reception that should have gotten the Krakatoa? I thought it was really good, but I don't feel like it.
Yeah, I think it got what it warranted. I think Krakatoa is really good, but I don't think Krakatoa is as much a standout as some of the others have been.
Surprisingly, but yeah, I noticed that too.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's really good. I'm happy, but I'd still rather smoke a Nakatama.
Yeah, I have to light one of those up later today. I haven't had one in a while.
What I'm smoking right now?
I'm in.
Nice.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
With like the top 25, CA's top 25, you always hear about whoever wins the number one spot, like they have to back order, like they just get automatically back ordered when they win. When you win the consensus, do you have that same effect?
Winning consensus, no. It helps bring awareness, but look, cigar fishermen, remember what I said. I mean, of the 5,000 doors, you're lucky if 500 of them are engaged, right? So they don't even know half wheel exists.
Yeah.
Much less that there's a consensus.
Yeah.
And, part of it, too, is we don't milk those things. So,
yeah.
You shine a decent light on it, though, man. I think you do a good job.
Why wouldn't I? Look, here's part of my thing. Part of it's just being polite. Someone's going to go out of the way to name you their third favorite cigar of the year. The least you can do is share the fucking link, right? So, I mean, it's just part.
You think.
I think this is part of a courtesy thing. Look, and I still miss some because there's so many. I mean, it really helps me when, like, content creators, if they send me a DM with a link, that helps tremendously because I can't see everything, man. It's just good enough. And but yeah, I think that getting half wheel consensus, but I think I like half wheel consensus better. Obviously, because I do well on it, right? That's good. Get a hint on that.
Yeah.
But the reason I like half wheel consensus is because it basically is taking anywhere from 20 to up to 40 various different reviewers and treating them all as equal and trying to weight them in a way that it gives you a pretty good idea as to what cigars were the ones that were most preferred by the media in a given year. So I think the fact that I do well in the consensus, which is great. I mean, So, but yeah, I mean, but compared to
CA,
number one is that's what changes the trajectory of your company in a lot of cases. But I'm not even eligible because they don't even review my cigars. So
bullshit.
Can't be, no, it is and it isn't. I mean, look, it's kind of by mutual agreement. You know, I have a bad relationship with the owner of the publication. It's been that way since the mid '90s. It's personal and it's stupid, but it is what it is. And I just choose. I don't think that they're bad people over there. I think they put together a quality publication. I don't have any issues with any of the people that are on the staff. And I hope they don't have any with me either. We've just kind of taken a position of, hey, because here's the thing: if they rated my cigars and they gave me an 83, you know what a fucking circus I would turn that into? I mean, I would love that.
Yeah.
It'd be so good to get a 79 from Cigar Aficionado and to whip out the email from so and so telling me that my money's no good with them. They hate me so much. I mean, come on, it's a goal. So
that's unmitigated gold. Like,
yeah, the David Goliath in me likes it, but they wouldn't do that anyway. I think, yeah, they pay some favoritism to the people that support them, no doubt. But I think that's true with almost any publication. You know, and the other thing too is even if somebody doesn't go out of their way to make you their number one or their number two or number three or whatever, they also don't intentionally go out of their way to hurt you.
Yeah. But the other side of it, though, is that it's easier to motherfuck a brand when you don't have a relationship with the brand. And it's easier just to do what your mom told you. Don't say anything bad if you don't have anything good to say. You know what I mean? There's a benefit into that engagement level. There's no doubt about it. You know, but we're doing well in spite of with having the consumer pushing you is an even better thing though, because all of us are looking like, yo, why isn't he here? But we still love the fact that you're still out there, you're still killing it. You know what I mean? That part that's good. Fuck you too.
But Drew became successful without Cigar Aficionado. I didn't start giving money to CA until after I left.
Right.
We didn't spend a penny on those guys. So I mean. So Drew became successful without it. You can become successful without it. But yeah, sure. I mean, look at what a jump start it gave Nick when he got number 3 on his on the which one was it? Wise Man Maduro? Yeah, it was Wise Man Maduro. I mean, that's huge for Nick. Because now it's not just the 500 knuckleheads that are paying attention. Now maybe there's another 1,000 knuckleheads. Right, because I mean, still half of them don't even look at Cigar Aficionado. So, but easily another 1,000. They go, hey, let me check this brand out.
Yeah. Do you think it's a possibility you and Nick will collab somewhere down the road?
I think it's unlikely.
Okay.
I mean, look, we did collab. We made Liga Privada.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. As consumers, like we love what you've done. Yeah, we love what you guys are doing.
But here's the thing: I don't know why you think two people get together and make a better child. I don't get that.
It happens sometimes, but yeah.
I think Nick has his style and he's doing what he's doing, and I have my style and I'm doing what I'm doing. And I don't think that when you look at most of these collabs, they're almost always from marketing, right? I mean, how many of these collabs? Yeah. Be serious. They actually, I mean, and how do you have? I mean, even at Drew. I mean, in the end, I was Nick's boss. So, in the end, what got done was because I decided to do it. Now, in my perfect world, Nick's agreeing with 99% of it because Nick's a valuable person, right? Someone who I trust, he works with me. But in the end, there's still someone that ends up deciding that, oh, we're going to make this. We're going to make it in this size. This is the blend I think is the best. This is the way we're going to go with it. So I don't think somebody like Nicholas needs a collaboration, right? And I don't need it.
Not at all.
I don't think us two trying to do something together is necessarily a good idea. I mean, I'm not saying it's a bad one. I'm not like vehemently opposed, but I just rarely see the benefit of it. It just always feels like marketing to me.
I think that's a great answer.
It never feels like genuine collaboration.
You don't want to do a $7,000 box?
Eventually, I'll get there. Give me time.
No, we cool. We cool where you are right now, Jack.
Give me time. I'll get there. Yeah. You're gonna sell every one of those cigars. You know they are.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Crazy, but
For
yeah.
sure. For sure.
Already saw it happen in Vegas.
Yeah, I mean, it's like look at me. See, I always like I'm into watches, and I'm like, I always look at those Richard Mille watches, $250,000, $400,000 for a wristwatch, and I'm into watches. I'm already willing to spend
You
money,
Assange, man.
right? But even I look at that, and go, my God, that's a mortgage. I mean, I just can't wrap my brain around it, right? But they sell every single one they make every single year, and they have a backlog of customers waiting.
Yeah.
So there's a consumer for the $7,000 box of Padron and Fuente collab. There is.
Mm-hmm.
Thing is, though, probably isn't many of us.
Nah. Shot in the dark though. What are you watching like on your downtime? What kind of movies, TV shows? What's catching your attention?
Not much. Like I like sci-fi stuff. I always have. Sci-fi.
Don't say Dune.
Huh?
Don't say Dune.
Don't say Dune.
Well, I love Dune the book, but the movies have been atrocious, and they just keep getting the same. I mean, it's tough.
So bad.
I mean,
So bad.
My brother.
What's so sad about Dune is it's such an amazing, rich story, and them trying to make it in a movie format's just bad. What needs to happen is somebody needs to make Dune into a long-running Game of Thrones.
Yeah, you know
series.
Because there's enough that happens in Dune that there's enough to generate that kind of story. But I don't know if anyone ever will, because every time they make a Dune movie, it's a piece of crap. Now, I will say this. I haven't seen Dune 2 yet. Okay. I fought my way through Dune 1. Right?
It's harder to watch than Dune 1.
Are you kidding me?
No, dude. No,
it's so confusing.
And the whole thing. So during Dune 1, I literally had to narrate the story to my wife for her to have a clue as to what was going on. Because if you hadn't read the book, that is really 2.5 hours of just going, what the fuck is happening? I mean,
dude, that's it. That's it.
I mean, so yeah, it's such a shame when they can't, do a good job telling the stories. But they can't. You cannot collapse Dune even into 2 movies. Dune needs time.
It's slow
We're
burn.
about to waste our time with a third. Slow, painful burn.
So what's your favorite sci-fi movies then?
What's your favorite sci-fi book?
Oh my God. Favorite sci-fi book. That's a tough one. I mean,
Timeline?
No, slow down. It's not that I'm. So, I mean, I love the Foundation trilogy. I really loved Dune a lot. That was an excellent one. I enjoyed all the Ender's Game series up until the end. It got a little strange on me with something like when we got into book 5 and 6. That got a little wonky. I love anything that John Scalzi writes. John Scalzi is an amazingly talented writer. He has a great flair. So anything that John Scalzi writes, that's definitely worth picking up. I still like a lot of the old Larry Niven stuff. But I mean, when I think about books, they have real impact. Fahrenheit 451. A book like a book. I love the book I Am Legend. I mean, it's more a novella. I mean, I know
it's a great book.
I know it got turned into the Will Smith thing, and it was a good movie, and I enjoyed Will Smith, but it so missed the whole point of the book. The whole point of the book was
very different.
How he, as a human, had become the monster, and that everybody else had become normal, and that was the realization that he got. And it was really maybe I was naive, because I literally came to the conclusion at the same time he came to the conclusion in the book, which made it for me just oh my God.
That's mind blowing.
Like a mind thought, right? Because I wasn't smart enough to pick up on it before. So I mean, there's a lot of great things. I mean, Man in a High Castle is a fantastic book. I cannot understand. Baby. Joe, what is that on HBO?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What are we talking about here? This is craziness. It's like it just doesn't fit for me. But yeah, I like sci-fi. I mean, but I think it was more impactful. I mean, one of my favorite books is Starship Troopers.
Yes.
They turned it into this really campy, cheesy film.
It's so bad.
It's so bad, but man, when it's on, I have to stop and watch the motherfucker.
It's a stupid movie.
If I happen to cross through a channel that has Rudy, I'm in trouble. I gotta watch the rest of damn Rudy. Right?
It's a long movie too.
I know exactly what's gonna happen. I gotta watch it. But I mean, Starship Troopers was a book that was so controversial that it got banned from a lot of libraries. Starship Troopers was about the concept that you should not have the right to vote if you do not contribute to your government and to the better of your country. Yes. So in order for you to have the right to vote, you have to go in service and go kill the bugs on the foreign planet. Okay. Yeah. Which they made the movie into all about killing the bugs on the foreign planet and all the goofiness. But the real core part of that book was who should have the right to vote.
Yep.
Okay. And it's basically an argument that, of course, at the time when the book got published, they were kind of reflecting on the concept of, well, only property owners should have the right to vote. Right. And so the book got banned in a lot of places. It was a very controversial book.
It's a good social narrative, though. That's really good. But they did the same thing with The Matrix.
Right. But with something for you to actually think about. And that's what good science fiction does. Good science fiction isn't necessarily a soap opera like Star Wars, which can be good science fiction. But really good science fiction really makes you think about bigger issues.
Social commentary. Yeah.
I mean, and what the future holds. And that's like, what's that program? Black Hole, Blacklist. There's
Black
one that,
Mirror.
Black Mirror. Black Mirror is brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't like all the stories, but the stories are thought-provoking, right? And that, in my opinion, is what a good science fiction novel should do, is being taught to provoke thought. And sadly, that ends up meaning that you kind of go back to those 30s, 40s, and 50s where most of that thought-provoking stuff comes out. Because now what I'm getting 18 long series on some sort of zombie apocalypse, right? That there's 18 books in. It's just become kind of like a Walking Dead serial drama.
Everything now.
I gotta tell you, I would listen to this stuff because it's good, popcorn fodder. But it doesn't enrich my mind in any way. Not the same way as just a story, even an old story like A Last Babylon or something like that, or Brave New World, or Brazil. I mean, there's a lot of very interesting things.
That was one of the most disappointing movie adaptations for me was Ender's Game. Like, talk about a terrible Spaceballs. Yeah, talk about a terrible movie adaptations. Ender's Game was awful. And for me.
Yeah, again, it's always hard to translate a book onto a screen.
Yeah.
It's hard. I mean,
I felt like Ender's Game was for those that didn't really invest in the book as much, and they were there to be entertained by something that was sci-fi.
Again, you missed the whole genocide part, which is really the big issue in Ender's Game. I mean, it's wrapped up in a story that's very digestible for tweens, but but it was about a much bigger question. The existence of one species over another species. This is how we're going to treat whoever we eventually run into in the galaxy. Is this the way life has to be, that for one to survive, the other must kill their opponent? So it was a much bigger esoteric message. Yeah, got lost in the movie. It's about a kid going through boot camp to basically end up beating.
Make it a popcorn flick.
So,
ever read Valis by PKD?
Valis. Which one is that?
It's the one where essentially it's kind of like autobiography of Philip K. Dick.
No, I read a lot, but I don't think I've read this one, Ballast.
It's great. It's essentially like him finding God, like in his own weird science fiction-y way. That like himself, Philip K. Dick. His name in the book is Horse Lover Fat, because that's what it like translates to in German, I guess. I don't know.
Okay.
But it's very, very interesting. One of my favorite PK books.
All right, I'll check that one out. I don't think I've read that.
Yeah, that sounds money.
Yeah. Tomorrow War, that's a good book. Good author.
Getting love in there.
Was that terrible Amazon movie?
Yes.
Ballast?
Yes.
Okay.
No, Tomorrow.
Okay,
World.
don't.
No, Tomorrow World.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I don't know.
No, it's the one with what's his name? The short.
Chris Pratt.
Who was it? Pratt?
It was
Yeah.
Chris Pratt.
Oh,
Yeah, I
Why
ain't,
would
I
they
ain't
know
watching
Tom
anything.
Cruise?
Bro.
That was the that was a decent movie.
That was
The,
Edge of Tomorrow. That's a great
Day
movie.
After Tomorrow or whatever.
yeah.
Yeah.
That one was fun.
Tom
Live,
Cruise.
Die,
That was
Repeat.
fun.
Yeah, that's a cool movie.
That was a good movie.
Groundhog's Day, science fiction Groundhog's Day.
You know another movie I can't roll by? It goes back to that author I was recommending, John Scalzi. Was it John Scalzi that wrote Ready Player One? Maybe not.
Oh yeah.
But
My wife watched that thing.
that Ready Player One. First off, the book's fantastic. The book's better than the movie, but the movie's really enjoyable, which is really odd that you like the book and you like the movie, even though the movie isn't the same as the book. It's close enough.
Right.
But that was one where I'm like, they did a good adaptation of Ready Player One.
That was good.
I kind of feel like Jurassic Park, the book, is slightly better than the movie, but being that the movie was so significant in the first like real dinosaur kind of like what would it look like?
The CG.
That jump in videography at the time, right? Like it wouldn't matter how bad the story was or how far they went from the book. They deviated from the story.
Talking about like popcorn science fiction, like I am hooked into one series right now called Hell Divers. I think they're up to like book 9, and it's basically this concept of the planet's been destroyed in a nuclear war, and they're flying around the world in a blimp. And these blimps have been in the air for hundreds of years. And the way that they get parts to salvage is they have hell divers who dive into the radioactive wasteland to then recover what they need. And it's
Nice.
it's cheesy. Like I told you, this is popcorn fiction here, but I think they've done a pretty good job with that series. But most of those series get really boring really quick.
Like the air version of the train series. It's a similar thing. The train never stops going around the world.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about. Something Spear, I think. I forget.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a decent movie though.
Snowfall, Snowball,
Snowpiercer.
Snowpiercer.
Yeah. The show I can't get into, but I like the movie for whatever reason.
It's interesting.
Not sure if it's sci-fi, but I love Lord of the Flies.
Yeah,
Lord of the Flies is not sci-fi.
That is not sci-fi.
Not sci-fi. Yeah.
Not sci-fi.
Good book though. Good book.
Yeah.
It's pretty much the urban city left to its own devices for about 2 weeks.
Right.
District 9 was really good.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
I like
District
District
9 was
9.
good.
Yeah.
See that question? What's the worst movie I've ever seen? I have no clue. That's a hard one.
Bug.
You're not going to remember it.
I mean, I walked out on Barbie the other night. Does that count? I wasn't a.
Yeah, that might count.
Yeah.
Everybody was raving about this Barbie. I'm like, you know what? What the hell? Cindy wants to watch it. $3.99 on Amazon.
Yeah.
Right. I don't even know if it was.
The last Purge was pretty bad.
Like,
the
Purge just keep getting worse. That's where that was a novel idea the first time, and then the second time. But now what we're in like Purge 76. It's like some anime.
Yeah, it's terrible.
We're gonna keep Purges forever. I mean, we're gonna be just a series of bad Purge movies.
They did that with The Strangers too. I just watched that whole series.
Yeah.
The Strangers, the first one was brilliant. Same thing with The Matrix, and then anything after that's like, dude, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Yeah, they really did not have to make that last Matrix either.
No, they didn't.
No, they didn't.
They did not.
But here's the thing: intellectual property costs so much now.
Mhm.
They're just going to remake everything. They
Yep.
want to renegotiate all these extra, whatever the swag sales and the subsidiary things and the reviews and the streaming percentages. I mean, so they have these contracts for these things that these studios own, and they're just going to remake everything.
Everything's a reboot now.
Everything's going to be remade because it costs them so much less than try to actually use something new and creative, right? Because you got to negotiate at today's rates, all those other rights.
Did anybody watch the new Mad Max? Furiosa?
Not yet.
I haven't seen
I watched the original, and I've been trying to go back through these series to keep up with all the stuff that's new. I stopped at the second movie. This is garbage, man. I couldn't get through.
You didn't make it to Thunderdome?
I was never a big fan. No.
Okay, man.
I can play Tina Turner anytime
I shouldn't, but I did. Yeah, it's kind of like admitting you like fruitcake.
Right.
I'll tell you a movie that everyone hated that I liked. I liked Waterworld. I'm sorry, Kevin Costner.
I like Waterworld.
I found that entertaining. I don't understand why that movie got such a bad rap.
It's
like
a cult classic.
Mad
Now,
Max.
I like Escape from New York is a good one.
Oh God, yeah. But
Oh,
Escape from LA, I don't enjoy. Escape from New York, I enjoy.
Classic.
I like Escape from New York.
Yeah.
Escape from New York's good.
Then again,
Well,
interesting
guys,
concept. Walling off Manhattan, making it a penal colony, leaving all the people that are incarcerated to their own devices. No more government support. There's even a bigger message of discussion in a movie.
They needed to remake that one. They needed that reboot in LA or San Francisco right now, apparently.
Oh, really?
Especially San Francisco. They need to.
They need to. Demolition Man. Now that's classic.
That's a good one.
There, man.
That's
I love
classic.
Demolition Man.
3 shells in Taco Bell.
Sandra Bullock trying to explain sex. That was amazing.
Maybe I'll get the Wesley Snipes haircut.
Oh man.
That man had his moment in the sun.
Yeah, he did.
He's gonna come back as Blade, isn't he? Didn't they say that they're trying to work him back as Blade in Marvel?
Really?
They got to make they're trying to bring him back. He might pop up in that new Wolverine and Deadpool.
I hope so. You got to pay that tax debt somehow. You got to let this man work.
Yeah.
Give him a shot. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
You got to give him a shot.
He was trying the Steven Seagal route with the B movies. That wasn't working. So you got to get that MCU check now. Pay back the man.
Amazing.
We had 3 hours, fellas. What do you think?
Yes, we are.
I think it's time for
bed. Everyone's starting to bounce in the chat.
Yeah, we can call it.
Yeah. We'll wrap the show.
Yeah.
I think
This is
so.
what you guys normally do. Just get some guy on to talk endlessly.
Talk about
sometimes,
cigars,
yeah.
Man.
Sometimes.
Pretty much, man.
Once a
You
month.
gotta have shit to say though. You had shit to say. That's what matters, man. So you had good shit to talk about. So we with it.
Quality shit to say.
Yep.
I'm not so sure about that, but thank you.
Just drinking the rye alone, was enough, man. That was pretty good. Seeing you throw back a couple of those, man. That was all right.
All right. Well, thanks
Next time,
everyone for
bring
being in
Hennessy,
the chat. Thanks, Steve, for coming on. I'm gonna hit our outro.
Thank you,
And I'll
Steve.
See y'all on the next
Later,
one.
Steve.
Make sure
Thank you,
you
brother.
like all that jazz. See y'all later.
Share.
Thanks,
Peace.
Steve.
Steve.
Appreciate it.
My man.
Steve.
Cheers.